obviously, but we're going to...
5 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com. Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
This one in the air out to left field. Peralta going back. It is gone! Into the front row in left field. A two-run blast by Gallo. And it's a new ball game in the 8th.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here's Teague for 3. Rattles it home. Man, it looks good, doesn't he? Again, those numbers are...
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Go 1st and 10 now into the red zone for Baylor. This is Jermichael Hasty. The bounce to the outside. Touchdown, Bears.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This 3 o'clock hour. I have no idea what episode. I'm lost. It's been a long time. April 6th is when we started.
It's 84.
84 is Doug Cosby.
Jay
Novacek. I'm sorry. Cosby might have been.
Well, maybe it was.
I don't know. It wasn't 80, 81, 82, 83. I think he might have been.
Joey Galloway.
So here we are on this Thursday afternoon. I do know this. The SEC, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, Dylan Chapman here today. The SEC is, again, having another virtual meeting today. And they are looking at the conference-only schedule. That was reported yesterday by a handful of outlets. Bruce Feldman, by the way, and Max Olson will join us today at 4 and 5. Max might be a little bit different because he's getting his phone changed. But Baylor and Ole Miss were going to have some sort of a conference call with ESPN today. Apparently that's going to be later this afternoon because you want to wait to see what the SEC decides. Because if they end up making the decision, guys, that it's going to be conference only, then that evaporates that game without anything that Baylor and Ole Miss or the ESPN folks need to say.
Yeah, if the conference says, look, we're going conference only, it's going to be 10 or 11 games, then that means that's wide-reaching. That's like every other conference. So now the ACC that has a bunch of rivalry games over there, they won't have those either. So
Clemson,
a lot of teams have to react.
Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia Tech,
yeah,
among some others. And then again, the Big 12 is in this. Well, we'll have a meeting after we have our media day on Monday evening, which still seems to be backwards. So by the close of business today, it appears the Baylor and Ole Miss game either is put to sleep or it is possibly still on the respirator.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm not expecting it to happen at this point because the SEC seems to be leaning towards the conference-only schedule. So if that happens, then, yeah, no Baylor Ole Miss, which, at this point, if we see that game, great. If we don't, that's fine too. I really don't care anymore about that Ole Miss game, and that's not trying to be negative. That's just when you think about the roller coaster ride that just even getting this game set to be official was, and all of the talk about it for the last 2 years, and now here we are, and it's set, and it's ready to go, and it's official, and yet there's these much larger questions lingering than just what TV network it's going to be on or where they're going to play. So I want to see the game. Don't get me wrong. I would love for them to play this year. I'm just not expecting it at this point. I'm expecting that game to get called off.
Yeah, I did. I think maybe even 3 or 4 months ago, I just thought that thing was dead in the water, and then I kind of have had hopes that would continue. Baylor's 2 non-conference games, if in fact Ole Miss doesn't work out, and it would be because of a conference making the decision or just college football not being played. Would be Kansas would be next, and they have Louisiana Tech. And I've gone Incarnate Word.
I would think that Incarnate Word might have depending on what their conference decides to do.
Louisiana Tech's not that far.
No, but I mean, it's not that far.
4 or 5 hours, I think.
Just because
maybe
Incarnate
5.
Word's inside the state.
Yeah, so if you're going to have one conference game, that might be it. So that's going on, the SEC virtual meetings, and who knows, they might come out with that decision here while we're on the air today. I want to push this Big 12 or this Pac-12 LA Times story because that's an actual discussion amongst itself. We will have today at 3:15 Albert Breer from the NFL Network, one of their top reporters. 3:30 Dr. Jamie Harrison, the UIL. 4 o'clock today Max Olson, give or take a few minutes because of his clock or his phone. At 4:30 Mickey Spagnolis, theathletic.com's Bruce Feldman at 5. Charlie Brewer's on the Manning watch list, not a surprise. Brian Bolin. This is a highly touted, recognized, awarded, honored, national championship pedigree tennis coach who resigned yesterday evening, sometime an hour or so after our show. Michael Woodson will take over. I spoke with a couple of tennis pros today, and both of them said, in their opinion, that Michael Woodson and his relationship with the players is phenomenal. Remember what Terry Morrison said to us earlier, everyone loves the assistant coach.
Yeah.
Michael's young, so Bolin, when he was brought on, I mean, that's a Mack Rhodes hire. But this was
out of the blue.
Well, it was out of the blue, and yet when I've spoken to a few people today, and actually only one person on the campus at Baylor, and none of them in the athletic department other than the media relations, they'll have some sort of a Zoom meeting with Michael Woodson perhaps to introduce him next week. This was that perhaps Brian Bolin just needs to take care of himself.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I'm not even going to speculate because this was just very abrupt and out of nowhere. I don't have any insight on the tennis program.
How much do you think Mark Hurd passing away at Oracle, who was a huge tennis supporter and had a lot to do with him, how much did that possibly enter the picture?
Well, it's going to hurt the tennis program overall that a former player who's a billionaire that's not going to be there to give money.
Craig?
I think it probably had some type of an effect for sure. I think that he was, footing a lot of that tennis bill. That was a program that he had his, eyes on and that he loved and that he wanted to see grow into a national power. And so he was a big part of doing the work to raise finances or give to the program. And a big part of that was, helping to land Brian Boland. And so I think with his passing, when he passed a few months back, whenever it was, I actually had that thought initially of like, I wonder what this means for Baylor men's tennis. And I don't know if it was just because of the whirlwind of everything else going on, just kind of forgot about it. And the fact that tennis isn't in action, didn't really have reason to think about it. But, yeah, not sure what's going on. Certainly, though, I think Hurd's passing probably played into this at least a little bit. But overall, yeah, just a big loss. And hopefully Michael Woodson's ready to go. I mean, I think people who know him seem to think that he will be. But, it's not Brian Boland, that's for sure.
We see a lot of sports now where athletes are allowed to use emblems or patches or whatever on the back of their uniforms or their helmets. NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel approved the use of wearing patches for players on their uniforms for commemorative and memorial purposes, as well as to support social justice issues.
All right. I mean, that's not a surprise. Everybody's doing it. I don't know what the NFL is going to do about that.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. I mean, I kind of agree with LeBron James' assessment of that whole thing. Is like, it's good. If that's what you want to do, then that's fine.
I saw a cartoon thing of LeBron today with his 20 and on the back, speak up, and then there's a Chinese kid or from Hong Kong that says, free for Hong Kong, and he says, shh.
Yeah. Well, and look, we can get into that, but his assessment of this individual issue was he wasn't going to do it because – what does that really mean if you put it on the back of your shirt? It's more about action than, outside of that than whatever. So,
yeah, if you want to do it, fine. This doesn't really mean anything to me one way or the other. It doesn't affect me in any way as far as my enjoyment of the game. I don't know why it should affect anybody else's either. I don't think it's going to be something crazy where it's like overtaking, the back of the jersey number and the name or anything like that. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm kind of surprised the NCAA is getting involved in any type of way because they're pretty uniform about everything that they do. So that's actually kind of surprising. That's the biggest takeaway I have from the story. But I guess in the age that we live in, they're kind of following the trends and the times and feel like this is the time to allow players to have more of a voice. So we'll see how it goes.
I do think you will see some get turned off by some of whatever's either on the court, the field, the jerseys, or whatever. That doesn't mean that the people who are doing it are right or wrong. It just depends on how you believe of how you should express yourself. Now, Phillies had stopped all their activities at their ballpark because 2 staff members tested positive for COVID-19. Marlins had yet another positive test. They now are up to like 19 or 20. Now, let's get into this pack. And Albert Breer, NFL Network, will join us in 3 or 4 minutes. The Pac-12, Craig brought this one in. The Pac-12 signed an agreement to fund news coverage from the LA Times.
Yeah, this is so shady.
Well, Craig, explain this, if you can.
Well, I haven't had an opportunity to read through the whole article yet, but basically the Pac-12 was suffering from a lot of bad PR. They have a bad commissioner. He's the worst of the Power 5 commissioners. They're the worst of the Power 5 conferences, in my opinion. And basically, they needed to, try and create some positive, news for themselves and kind of change the narrative of, what they've been look like. But, I mean, this is a story from the Oregonian and John Canzano, who is a big-time writer in the Pac-12 area and a big-time Oregon beat writer. And, Larry Scott's kind of been in limbo as it stands right now, but basically they got a hold of internal communications from the Pac-12 and the LA Times. The Pac-12 had denied that there was any type of an agreement with the paper, but now has for the first time acknowledged it signed a contract to provide advertising revenue to the Times. They interviewed more than a dozen insiders over the last year and a half, including the president of the Times and their executive editor. And I guess
so they're paying them for good news.
They're basically paying them for good. I mean, it's like an 8-page article. So I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to get all into the details, but
what's interesting? I've been covering Baylor now for 10 years, and they've been through some stuff, and they've had some elite, hellacious, high, amazing, exhilarating moments too. Paul, have they ever called you up and said, "Hey, we're going to pay you if you'll start talking about this or not talk about this"?
No, I mean,
Even when we were the flagship, which we did get money for the broadcasts, which was part of us broadcasting numerous sports, even during the worst of times, even during some of the horrible times, not even during the Pepper Hamilton investigation and Ukawachu and all that, I remember maybe one time somebody in media relations called me up asking me about an interview or a question we asked about a coach at Baylor, and it was never to tell me not to do it. They were just getting clarification or something that maybe I had said in 10 years.
The only time...
And I know a lot of people thought, hey, Baylor telling you to calm down. No, ever.
Now, people will call up and tell us from all walks of life about, hey, we've got this good story that maybe needs some attention, but I've never been offered money to tell that story. If it's a good story, we'll tell it.
I don't even think I've ever been nudged into something.
No, I mean, somebody, like, we've asked, like,
this
hey,
is
do you
the
have
LA Times. Is this where we are?
Yeah, that's, and that's part of that is...
If Fox Sports has got the UIL as a corporate sponsor, they're going to do a lot of feel-good stuff in the broadcast and stuff like that. That's a different animal.
But that's an intersection of two things. One, the Pac-12 desperate for any kind of somebody say good news about it, and the fact that newspapers at a point right now where they can say, hey, we need to take some money for whatever.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We got Albert Breer coming up in the next segment.
Yeah. So basically, what they were doing is the Pac-12 was trying to figure out how to get more positive coverage. They talked with the LA Times, and the LA Times said, well, in order to do that, we would need more advertisers. And Pac-12 said, hey, we know some advertisers, and they lined them up to provide the advertising money for
$100,000
for the expanded coverage. And so there you go.
Big 12 virtual media days canceled.
Oh, wow.
On Monday?
May not be rescheduled.
Okay.
There's more questions than answers.
Well, that makes sense because the only question is, what's your schedule?
Yeah.
And we might know more about that even after the SEC has theirs finish up today.
Ross Dellinger, SEC presidents have adopted a plan to play a 10-game conference-only schedule this fall. League approved a kickoff date, September 26th. Particulars on the schedule are unclear for now. SEC title game, December 19th.
Well, that would probably most likely end Baylor and Ole Miss. It does. Albert Breer, the NFL Network, next on SicEm365 Radio.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Every man knows that you got to get it right in the bed. Hey there, Jay from Pickup Outfitters here to talk about a sensitive issue and asking you, please, don't drive around town exposing your stuff. Please, cover that truck bed. This is a very serious form of truck nudity. Trucks without bed covers, and it's an easy fix. There are so many different types of covers depending on your needs and style, from folding, rolling, locking, retractable, anything from black to silver, even paint to match the original cover of your truck. Now, all these are hard, rigid covers, just like they should be. Now, there are also some soft bed covers, but you know. So don't be driving around with a bare truck bed. It's like letting people peek underneath your covers. It just ain't right. See the different types of bed covers at createacommotion.com/covers. Won't you help us end truck nudity? Stop by our showroom and see all our bed cover displays at Pickup Outfitters, just off of Waco Drive at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Summertime means vacation time, and while this summer may be different, at Allen Samuels, you can always count on our huge summer clearance event. It's on. Brand spanking new 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cabs. Now 0% financing for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $10,250 in total values. America's most loyal half-ton pickup owners are Ram owners. It's time to say goodbye. Adios, 2020s, from Allen Samuels. Ask for details.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
All right, here we go, this 3 o'clock hour. Dr. Jamie Harrison of the University Interscholastic League that runs sports and athletics for public schools in Texas at 3:30. Max Olson, 4. Bruce Feldman, 5. Albert Breer, and he's like everywhere. NBC Boston, NFL Network. He's a alum of that as well. Also, senior lead reporter with the Monday Morning Quarterback. Albert Breer joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Albert, you just saw the SEC, where Ross Dellinger's report about conference only. Don't you kind of get the impression that's just kind of, I know we're talking NFL, but that might just end up being college football across the board?
Yeah, Smokey, you know what's interesting is I had heard about this back in May, because a lot of the NFL people were working with the major college football people. And, one of the things that I had heard was that they would eliminate the non-conference schedule, which you're seeing now, and maybe add around to the playoffs. And I know, that would be great. Like, I don't know how feasible that is now, but it was sort of part of the idea was, you create more flexibility and you can have more standard protocols if you stay in conference. You're going to lose some money doing that, but then you can make up for it by making up by adding a round to the playoffs, and that would allow you to be fair to everybody too, because you won't have non-conference games, so it'd be hard to judge one conference champion versus another.
Albert, NFL-wise, guys are opting out all over the place. How do you think that this will ultimately come out with teams? Do you think that there'll be more people as the deadline gets closer, and that'll be a rush to the deadline of, all right, I'm opting out too, and then teams kind of scramble as camp gets opened up next week?
Yeah, I think there are some guys that are still considering it. I don't know that we're going to have an explosion of names or anything like that, but I do think, the fact that we've seen some big names, the one guy who's an actual doctor in the NFL opted out, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. You have, 6 New England Patriots opting out. You have big names in that group, guys like Dante Hightower. So, I think like having seen some of the names that we've seen and some of the guys opting out that have opted out, I think gives a lot of other guys cover where, you maybe have to worry a little less what your teammates are going to think about you, and it allows you to sort of look at your own personal situation a little bit more and whether or not it's the right thing for you and your family. So I do think that seeing some of the names come out that we saw come out in the first wave has definitely allowed some guys to maybe take a harder look at it. Now, I don't know if that means that we're going to get 100 more of these, 200 more of these, or 20 more of these, but I do know that it has caused some guys to maybe think about it a little bit harder.
Albert, do you have any kind of an idea on how the NFL is going to operate? I mean, obviously training camps have been thrown for a little bit of a loop. We already kind of be into those at this point or getting close to that. So what do you expect the training camps to look like? We've seen the NBA doing what they're doing with the bubble. MLB went the non-bubble route. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that like so much of this is going to really kind of boil down to the players' responsibility to each other, and then B, what's happening in the rest of the country. The first part, you're going to hear this from every coach, and this is the way a lot of the coaches address their teams when they first had them together over the last couple of days. They have to be responsible for one another because all it takes is one guy acting like a jackass on a Friday night to ruin it for everybody. And so that's been a message, and I can tell you right there in Houston, Bill O'Brien said to his players, the team that's most responsible away from the building is going to be a team that's standing there at the end. So that's the first part of it. And they can control that to a degree. The second part of it you can't control, which is what happens in the rest of the country. Because they're not in a bubble, this becomes a little bit more difficult. And there's an element of it that really you can try your best to do everything that you can to work with everybody and have everybody do the right thing, but you're still going to have players and coaches who are around school-aged children who've been exposed. You're still going to have wives who've been exposed. And so, in a lot of ways, those people, they're part of the same, they take on the same risk that everybody else does. And once it gets inside one of these buildings, well, then who knows what's going to happen. And so, really, guys, I think that they've done everything they can to try to control what happens inside the building. And I think they've done a nice job as far as that goes. But so much of this is going to boil down to how responsible players and coaches are outside of the buildings. And then beyond just that, what's happening in the rest of our country.
Albert, I don't know what he has said or if he's even been available. Probably not. How is Bill Belichick handling this offseason? Like, look, Brady's gone. We know that. Gronk's in Tampa as well. Now you have Dante Hightower, one of the bigger names who's been opting out among others. How do you think? Is he like, I get a better, you've seen some of these, I get a better draft pick. He's not one that knows how to lose. No. I mean, like, look, I've heard all the conspiracy theories, and that's been fun on social media and everything else. This guy's 68 years old, and he's, I think, probably 5 or 6 good years away from catching Don Shula on the all-time list. There is no way, and I'll be very, very clear about that, no way that he is tanking anything. And so you can just take that thought right out of your head. But I do think this is always going to be a turn-the-page sort of year for them because you lose Brady and because they had some cap issues that they needed to work out. And because of that,
they've sort of built some of the contracts. So this year is going to be the clear to the decks year, where they're going to go into 2021 with a relatively clean financial situation. So I think internally they always knew this was going to be a bit of a transition year. Maybe losing some of these guys, like a Chung, like a Hightower, sort of makes it more of a transition year. But the flip side of that is, there's going to be a lot to sort of adapt to and change to and work with and work through this year. And I can tell you this, there's been nobody better at dealing with changing circumstances over the last 20 years than the Patriots. So, the manpower issue is real. That said, I think that they're going to still be a competitive team on a week-to-week basis.
So how much do you think the odds change on teams after Monday and the opt-out day of how many people have their actual full team or close to their full team available?
You mean how much are things going to change between now and Monday?
Or no, do you think that, things are like the people look at the different league differently now that the Patriots, people are already looking at different anyway, no Brady, anyhow, but like the rest of the league, if some bigger guys opt out or even, some key role players opt out, do you think that the way that people prognosticate the league will look a lot different looking next week as camp start?
Well, sure. If a quarterback opts out or whatever, of course we're going to look at those teams differently, and I'm not forecasting that happening, but there's still like a lot of balls in the air where, we don't know what could happen over the next 3 or 4 days. And so I do think, though, that the coaches and the teams have probably a pretty decent understanding now. And, I think if there are guys that are thinking about it, my guess is most of those guys would have at least been responsible enough to go to their coaches and to go to their teams and say, listen, this is something I'm considering. And so I would say the fact that all the veterans were past the veteran report date for all 32 teams, has probably given each team a pretty strong understanding of what they're dealing with going forward. And I'm with you on it's going to take the public a little while to adjust to this because it's going to be like the other sports. It's going to be like baseball, because they're not in a bubble where, we are going to see cases and we are going to see some guys come off the field because of this. And we are going to see some weird and quirky things that we're not used to seeing. But again, it's football, and I know how starved people are for it. So I think people will probably adjust and adapt just like the teams will to whatever's there on their TV screen.
Albert, are you surprised at how the Dak Prescott Cowboys, how all that timeline worked out in the end, or did you expect them to have any kind of long-term deal, or because of where they are? Do you feel like the Cowboys just said, no, we're gonna stick to the franchise tag?
No, I expected them to get a deal done because the Cowboys always get deals done, And beyond just that, good on Dak. This is a guy who hasn't made that much money. In a relative sense over the first 4 years of his career, and so I'd applaud him for standing on principle. And he does have the $31 million now in his back pocket, of course, but. It took some stomach to turn down what he turned down to try and seek true value. And so I just say this, Smokey, I think the Cowboys made an effort to get it done. And I think because of the changing dynamics of the quarterback market, I think the fact that Mahomes got done right before didn't really help. It was really hard for the two sides to find a place where quarterback value for a player of Dak's caliber should be now. And what this does going forward, look, Dak, if he plays well and stays healthy, has all the leverage in the world. And he'll be able to ask for the moon and the stars next year because they're going to have to tag him at $38 million, and the tag after that will cost $54 million. So he can legitimately ask at that point for, I'd say $45 million. He can ask for whatever he wants to ask for next year. He's going to have all the leverage in the world, and so now it's on him to stay healthy, and it's on him to play well. But if he plays like we've seen him play over the first 4 years of his career, he's going to be in a really, really strong position coming out of this.
Hey man, thank you, Albert. Stay safe. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your time
and
being a part of the show. One of the lead NFL reporters in America, Albert Breer, with us. One other note about Baylor and Ole Miss. Yeah, there's your clarity. That's done because of the SEC. How about if you're Baylor, do you move up Incarnate Word? Do you talk to Louisiana Tech about moving up because you don't want to start with a conference game?
Yeah.
Because you have the last week in August and Labor Day weekend now that's open.
Well, there was a reason why I asked Mac Rhodes a couple days ago what their plans were for that Kansas game because, we were asking him and peppering him all these questions about the schedule, and he obviously didn't have a lot of clarity at that time and still doesn't. And now I think the Big 12's probably making a lot of phone calls and scrambling because they're the only ones yet to make a decision on what they're going to do. And now now every conference has basically canceled their non-conferences for them outside of the, the non-Power 5 schools. But, I asked Mac about that Kansas game in particular because even though there's this uncertainty, that is an early game. And if you're canceling all your non-conference games or they're being forced to be canceled, then – how does it make sense to play Kansas in, week 2? So
would be now week 3. Week 0 is the last week in August.
So, that's going to have to be answered as well, and is, I'm sure, amongst the hundreds of questions that they're trying to find answers to at the moment. But nice to at least have some sort of idea of what's going on. I did see, and who knows, Billy Liucci, he seemed to have the inside track on what the SEC was going to announce, although, it seemed like several media people kind of figured what the plan was going to be. But I think it was him that I also saw mentioning that he had heard the Big 12 might be in conversations with, I think it said, the Mountain West to try and fill a game for everybody so that, they could do it that way and just line it up for each conference and make it kind of easy.
Yeah.
When we come back, Dr. Jamie Harrison, he's the Deputy Director of the University Interscholastic League, on what has happened this week and transpired and what's supposed to start Monday. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. It is nearly the end of the month now, and so hopefully I'm kind of already preaching to the choir, and you've already taken advantage of the great deals that are going on at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. And what great deals might those be? Well, it's truck month, or at least it's been truck month. It still is truck month for a little while longer, but right now you can pay what employees pay all month long. Qualified buyers save over $7,000 on 2020 Acadias or Yukons, or you can save over $6,000 on Terrains. If you're looking for luxury, style, and power in a new SUV, how about driving the Cadillac XT4, XT5, or the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6? The XT4 is available right now for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. They've got great prices. They've got free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service. That all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people you can count on. A local family dealer run by Baylor Bear alumni. They want the chance to earn your business. So stop by the Daily Disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to your home because your comfort and safety is Richard Carr's first priority. Find them online at richardcarr.com. That's Karr. Or Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeview Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365.com.
All right, here we go, this 3 o'clock hour. Lots of moving parts, the SEC conference games only, and they're going to probably have an extra game or two with people that they would not normally be scheduled to play. This ends a lot of rivalries. Florida State, Florida, Georgia, Georgia Tech, among others. Baylor, Ole Miss out, Texas, LSU out, Kansas State, Vanderbilt out, all of that. Oklahoma, Tennessee out at least for this season. Now the Big 12 has to make their decisions. We're now joined by Dr. Jamie Harrison, the Deputy Director of the University Interscholastic League on SicEm365 Radio, Paul Catalina, David Smoke, and Craig Smoke. Dr. Harrison, Jamie, thanks for joining us on the show today. When you saw what was going on in McLennan County and you saw a lot of your coaches and school districts trying to band together to figure out what they could do or not do, were you proud of what you saw?
I was very proud of them. I spoke to several of the school leaders in McLennan County as they were working through that, and they really did a great job of working together and trying to find solutions to a particular challenge that they had not faced before.
This thing has new wrinkles and turns and twists every single day, but with what you guys have worked on and put in place, do you feel like now that you have a plan to react to whatever comes your way down the line once we get the season started?
I feel like we're ready to pivot when we need to. As you said, this is a very unpredictable situation. And, you know what? I would welcome it changing by the day. It seems like it's been changing by the hour. But with the plan we have, we know it's not perfect. We don't believe we can find a perfect plan given the unique diversity that different parts of the state are facing in terms of COVID-19 challenges. But we do think it's a good plan that provides an opportunity for schools who are ready to and believe they can do so in a safe manner to provide some real experiences to students that we know are so valuable as a part of the educational process.
I know there was a press release when you announced, was it last Wednesday, what the UIL schedule would be, the protocol and all of that as well. The 4As and on down would start effective next week, and then 5A and 6A would not start really until either late August or first week in September. Was that because of hot spots in the larger areas with the larger schools, or Jamie, was that also because the smaller schools have so many multi-sport athletes that would want to perhaps morph or transition into what happens later in the year?
Well, I think the answer to that question largely is yes. It was both of them. It was all of that, so we realize that, again, there are exceptions to all of this, but by and large, the larger schools in the more densely populated areas are facing a different set of challenges, and they needed a little more time to figure things out. The county orders that were in place at the time that we announced definitely impacted those decisions as well. At that time, a majority of the 5A and 6A schools were under county orders that would not allow them to play until, sometime in September or later, with the vast majority of 4A and below not being impacted by those challenges. And then when you look at the schedule as we laid it out, finishing football season that late for 4A and below would definitely impact the other sports for the reasons you just mentioned. 5A and 6A schools have multiple sport athletes too. You just don't see it nearly at the same level as you do at 4A and below. So, we presented an 11-week season to get 10 games in, but that was much more about the 11 weeks than it was the 10 games. Schools may need 11 weeks to get 6 or 7 district games in. And so pushing those 4A and below schools out on top of the other spring activities would be really difficult on those schools.
Jamie, the schools in this area, not just our area, because we're more than McLennan County, but the schools in McLennan County, 4As and on down, obviously they lost games because some had to react immediately when all that you did on Tuesday, it looked positive, and then the health district said, nope, hold on a second. So they've lost some games. They've been able to recoup some of them. If someone was scheduled, for example, Conley was going to play Life Waxahachie week 1, back-to-back years. Life Waxahachie found another opponent for this year. Will the UIL tell Life Waxahachie they need to honor the second game next year?
We want them to honor that second game. We really want them to honor year 2 as though year 1 happened. But we are in such a different situation. There's going to be some exceptions where we have to kind of work through that individually. But as a general rule, yes, we want schools who lost games in year 1 of this 2-year cycle to not lose those same games in year 2.
So there's going to be some teams that play each other twice. Have you heard about with La Vega and Conley, they're going to play each other twice. Is that healthy?
Well, that's not a decision for me to make. Whether or not that's healthy is up to the school leaders in each of those communities. And if they think that is the best situation for their kids, then, we allow that. Mm-hmm. We have teams that play each other twice, where they play each other in the regular season and then in the playoffs.
Sure.
So that happens. It is unusual for teams to play each other twice in the regular season. But again, this is such a different experience that virtually no options are off the table right now.
In fact, I experienced the you'll remember this, the old East Texas district, John Tyler, Longview, Robert E. Lee, and Lufkin, I believe it was. They all played each other in a round robin for the whole district. There was like 6 games they played each other. It was a murderer's row, so to speak, by the way.
Yes, sir. And on occasion, we have that in some of our smaller conferences, too, where we have those 14 districts.
How difficult, given the vast size of Texas, is it to deal with the fact that, and this was just, last week with McLennan County making their decision and, Bosque and Hill and all these other counties not doing the same thing, Bell County not doing the same thing, it affected them, but it's so spread out that, if you get something in the middle of the season that pops up, to deal with, how hard is that given that Texas is so huge?
Well, it feels impossible, to be really honest with you. And that's why we know the solution that we laid out there is not perfect, but we just don't think a perfect solution is available. When you're dealing with the number of counties that Texas has and the various orders that those counties were issuing or not issuing. When you look at the different level of COVID-19 spikes that are happening in different portions of the state, there's just not a one-size-fits-all answer that's going to work. So it does feel impossible, but we feel confident that no matter what the challenge is that's thrown our way, we're going to work very closely with those impacted schools and try to find them a way to have some games and give these kids these experiences that so many of them missed out on in the spring when we had to cancel our activities. We want to avoid that at all costs. And so, we're going to be as flexible as we can be to work through those situations.
Was there ever any kind of when the basketball tournament was going on, and that was my God, everything was breaking left and right. When you got into the tournament, there were games played. Some teams had already punched their ticket into a championship game. Was there ever discussion, Jamie, back then about let's just find a way to get through the weekend, or was there never even that thought? Let's got to cancel it and we got to get out of here.
No, we genuinely felt as though if we could get it started, we could get it finished. So we worked literally until it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning of the first set of games on Thursday, that I actually laid down and closed my eyes for a few minutes, trying to make sure that we got started. So we thought if we could get it started, we could get it finished. Unfortunately, things unfolded so quickly on that Thursday. It started Wednesday night. And the world started changing so quickly. Different dominoes started falling, and it just hit a point where, we had to suspend the tournament. But, looking back, it seems silly. When we left San Antonio in the middle of March, we talked to them about some days in the middle of April to come back and finish the tournament. Because we didn't know, right? We thought, a couple, 3 weeks, we'll be able to get this thing finished. And obviously, it didn't turn out that way.
Last question for you. I can't imagine, because a lot of times everyone thinks they can do what you do, or some people can think they do what I do, and most of them would be right about with me. How difficult has this been? Because we have Mack Rhodes on from Baylor basically every week, and we know what he's had to juggle, including now today the SEC makes a decision that affects Baylor and everybody else. What has this been like on you and others? Charles Brydup, Susan Elza, among the others. What has this been like?
Well, I think without question, it's been the most challenging portion of all of our careers. We have been working, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for months now, because things change so quickly, and you develop a plan you feel really good about. The news comes out tomorrow and renders that plan useless. And so you throw it away and you start over. Mm-hmm. So it's been a challenge, but we recognize how important these activities are. As we start approaching the fall, fall in Texas is just about high school football. It just is. It's just very much a part of the fabric of our communities. And, the volleyball season getting started, all those things are just so important to communities that we realize we simply can't give up. And there have been times where you get so frustrated, it crosses your mind. But we can't do that, because what we do is too important to these kids, too important to these communities. So as challenging as it has been, we're really looking to the future right now with some hope, some uncertain hope, but with some hope. And maybe we can get some football games kicked off and get some volleyball games going and find a way to navigate these waters in a way where these kids can have a season.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, Dr. Harrison.
Thank you.
That's
have a great day.
Dr. Jamie Harrison, Deputy Director of the UIL. Answered about everything I think that we could have asked, especially the parts that some coaches started, when they started losing games, they were angry because of the shutdown at McLennan. So they started getting games. Like Stephenville, last Tuesday when the UIL said go, and then the health district in McLennan County said no. And the next day, Stephenville's talking to Shane Anderson, because they're like the third game on his schedule. And he's like, I can wait a little bit. Well, Wednesday morning, when was the McLennan thing? Whenever the morning of the day that they said they overturned the decision, which I guess that would have been Tuesday. Stephenville guys, Sterling Doty, I got to get another game, because it didn't appear after Monday's virtual meeting with that doctor that it was going to go well. And then 7-8 hours later, the opposite of the emotional roller coaster.
They had to get a legal clarification.
Yeah. All right. The UIL doesn't always To me, I know in the end that they're really good. Every state in America, Paul, you've mentioned your home state of Florida, but every state in America really wishes they had a UIL. Not every college in America wishes they had the NCAA. The UIL does a really, really good job, but don't think that at times the dollar bill means a lot to them as well, like it does. It's a business. It's a business. This is SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer, no, Pickup Outfitters, I'm sorry. Pickup Outfitters with all the bed covers, bed liners, bumpers, and grill guards you can imagine. If you walk into their showroom, you can look around and see what maybe you don't have or what you want on your pickup truck, or possibly even your SUV and or even minivan. They have WeatherTech and Husky Exact Fit floor liners. There's delivery in McLennan County. And the other part about Pickup Outfitters, which always makes it so special, is that if you have it professionally installed with Pickup Outfitters lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty if you buy it from their store. So buy what you need, whether it's a bed cover that helps you with security and shelter from the wind and the rain, the elements, or privacy and extra storage space, or the Pickup Outfitter type of bed covers, and there's different types, including hard and soft roll-up or removable, retractable, hard folding, etc. You get that from them. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, createacommotion.com online. Buy it from them, all professionally installed by Pickup Outfitters with a lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. Worry-free purchase. Now serving Waco for 20-plus years. Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco and createacommotion.com. Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodway. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home. How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Hey, Craig, did you see Mookie Betts last night hit one off the back left wall at Minute Maid and helped the Dodgers? I don't think that was it. I think somebody hit a home run to win it, but gave the Dodgers a lead. He's such a great player.
He's a fantastic player, one of the best players in all of baseball. And, man, I really wish he was on my team. That'd be fantastic.
And if you had him, you would never let him go.
Hey, do you want me to just bring up sad moments from your life?
Brooks Koepka is 6 under through 11. Remember, he's been fighting this knee injury. Birdied 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, and just birdied 11. Playing well. So there's a good Florida State note. Now, so look at what's going on here. The only thing left now is what? The Big 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this college football schedule, I'm glad that we're getting something. But the timing of it, and just like the fact that some conferences are playing different numbers of games from other conferences as it stands right now, man, this is so disjointed feeling. This whole thing just feels so disjointed. And, I'm curious too, because now we're not starting football until the last week of September, basically, it looks like, or that's what the SEC is going to do, right? So, why not just, hey, everybody on October 1st, let's go? Or, it's very, disjointed. Because this group's doing this, and then this group's doing that, and this group's still trying to find a non-con game, and they're starting at this time, and this team's starting here, and it's just, man, it's a lot to try to reel in.
So this by itself, Baylor loses Ole Miss.
That's official now, yeah.
The question is, do you try to move La Tech or Incarnate Word up before you play Kansas? You have 2 open weekends, the last weekend in August, the first weekend in September. Even though you might say, well, it's Kansas, it's still a conference game. So you'd like to play somebody. It's like playing a scrimmage in 6A and 5A before you play your first game. SEC's locked into conference only. They'll add a couple of teams, right? So all of a sudden, if you're the Southeast, the SEC West, and you're already playing all that, and then you get locked in with playing Florida.
Well, if you get Florida and Georgia you could draw Florida and Georgia, which are the top 2 teams in the East, which I think would be probably rare. I'm sure they'll work on some kind of model to avoid that from happening.
Well, I remember the first year that Nebraska went to the Big Ten, and, the hell with them. They got Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State. They got loaded up. That was, and they actually did pretty well their first year. But that can happen just based on the lottery. And you can't sit there and go, well, you can't have them, because maybe you get lucky and you have, without being let's say it's Vanderbilt and Kentucky's pretty good.
So I'll just use Alabama as an example. So they already have Georgia on their schedule, but they lose USC, Georgia State, Kent State, and UT Martin. So those are off. So then, obviously, Florida's in.
Yeah, Southern Cal was the game that was canceled too.
They already have Tennessee, which is a team people think is on the rise.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be a weird year.
But when you think about Alabama, even Alabama having all of a sudden add Florida to the mix, but if you're Mississippi State, Mississippi, if you're A&M, Arkansas.
Well, A&M had finally moved off where this was the year where their schedule kind of panned out for them, and they're going to have to pick up. They're going to be a team. They're going to get
Who are the games? Who's their crossover game this year?
Their crossover game.
For who? A&M?
For A&M. South Carolina and Vanderbilt.
Well, South Carolina's always there, right?
Yeah.
So they get Vanderbilt, and now all of a sudden, oh, by the way, now you might get, well, they had Georgia last year, right? Was it Georgia? No, that was Clemson. Yeah, they had Georgia.
Yeah.
So, wow. Oh, well, but the good news, and Craig, I completely agree with you. We're getting where you can grab something. Here's who you're going to play.
Yeah,
we just don't know how many of those you're going to actually end up playing.
Well, and look, whoever wins the SEC is probably going to have 2 losses. I'll just tell you because of that. Whoever wins most leagues is probably going to have 2.
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if most everybody's got a loss or 2, just because. I mean, even like a Clemson who you feel really good about. I mean, still, just it's going to be so weird. It's going to be so different. It's not going to be, as matter of fact, as Alabama is rolling in and beating up on somebody. Now, they'll probably still do that to some teams, but, this is going to be different.
But know what? They're going to be all those great non-conference games, which is kind of what made me realize it was football season. But play the games. LSU, Texas would have been fun because LSU last year went into Austin, and that kick-started Brady. When we come back, Max Olson.
Burrow. And Brady,
yeah,
too.
And Brady, yeah. And Aranda. Max Olson, theathletic.com, his thoughts about all of this next on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, are you thinking about selling your house? Are you thinking about moving? Are you thinking about buying a new one? That's a process that, believe me, I've been through it. It's hard. I went through it during a time where I had to look at the house that I'm living in now. I had to look at it and make an offer the same day. I didn't have that time to think about it. When you have those things, it can happen. And real estate's such a volatile, wild thing. You want somebody in your corner that you can trust, that's going to help you through it, that's going to tell you, hey, listen, I know you may have liked that house, but let's look at another one. That's not a good deal. They can work it all out for you. Well, my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, will help you with that if that's what you were looking for to do when you were trying to sell your home. Just give them a call, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. Lance is going to hear everything you have to say. He's going to take it all in, and he's going to find you that dream home. He's also not going to stop until he finds you the best offer for the home that you are in, so that way you're not stressing out about that as well. So whatever you need, whether it's trying to sell a home, trying to buy a home, or both, Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
In great times or tough times, you always feel better working with someone who's there for you. When it comes to great banking, people here count on the First National Bank of Central Texas, here to help you, your family, and your business. Personal banking via phone, desktop, tablet, and drive-through. And business banking tailored for all situations, including yours. Amazing tomorrows from the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Lawrence out of the gun, looking downfield, looking deep, looking for Higgins, and Nutzer caught it. He came up with it. He is in the end zone. Touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozers Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, Max Olson, Bruce Feldman, an hour from now on much going on in college football that we kind of expected. We're joined by Max Olson, The Athletic. Max, your thoughts? The SEC pretty much just ended some pretty good non-conference games, Baylor, Texas, Oklahoma, and others. Your thoughts about the news from today?
Yeah, not surprising. It seems like the ACC, kind of a masterstroke on their part yesterday to sort of beat them to the punch here a little bit in setting their schedule and their plan. I think that sort of made it a little bit more inevitable for the SEC, and probably another good reminder that as we've gone through this process, you would hope the folks making these calls are all collaborating together, and it seemed like they were until they weren't. And so, it makes sense for the SEC. I think ever since the Big Ten did this and then the Pac-12 followed, I think it just has kind of generally makes the most sense that these leagues would stick to themselves, because it's just easier to kind of stay in your cohort and change your schedule and change your plans together and not kind of have these, these ties that you have to break. So it makes a lot of sense for the SEC.
All right, so what do you do if you're BYU now?
You hope that, like you look at how it worked out for Notre Dame, and what a sweet deal they get with the ACC when a lot of people sort of could have just left them out. If you're BYU, I really don't know. It's a tremendous question. I don't know how many of their games have now been. Do you have a number on that? How many of them have already been canceled now?
I think there's
at least
8.
8?
Well, I mean, it's at least 7.
I think it's at least 6 for sure.
Yeah, and then Houston and I think it's South Dakota State are probably
San Diego State.
San Diego. They're the ones that are probably a little bit iffy. So
I mean, I guess you just play a Group of 5 schedule if you're them now, right?
That's really all you can do.
That's all that's left.
Unless the Big 12 makes a decision to play a non-conference only and add Brigham Young like Notre Dame did the ACC.
I would say as of this minute, I would say it seems like the Big 12 is still determined to play 12 games. I don't know how much the SEC and other folks will, affect that between now and Monday, when I think that the Big 12 plan becomes a little bit more formal. But, I guess you could see some Big 12 schools, if they stick to 12, if they try and go in that direction, I guess you could see some of them reaching out to BYU. But, you've already got a lot of commitments that you're potentially holding on to there. So I don't know. It's it's a great question, and I think the ACC, like I said, did Notre Dame a huge favor in helping them avoid that.
By the way, Mike, this is from Paul Feinbaum. The new SEC matchup, A&M would end up adding Florida and Missouri to their schedule. Alabama would play Florida. So there's some of the maxes of those games. Craig?
Yeah, no, I just looked at the BYU schedule. The entire first month has been wiped out, and 2 other games, and then likely you're going to also see perhaps a Houston or a Boise State. So they've got 6 games out of the 12 that have been canceled. BYU does. So, yeah, they got some work to do on that schedule. Max, does this feel like disjointed to you at all? It's kind of hard to keep track of, when conferences are starting and how the schedules are going to go. We've talked about the college football czar before, and I feel like that would be a role that would come in handy and kind of getting everybody on the same page. But, I guess we're all over different pages right now.
You asked if this feels disjointed at all. Yeah, a lot. It just seems like every day you're sort of bracing for what's the next league going to do. And, obviously it's wild that we're in this position now. We're at the end of July, and you're going to have Big 12 teams practicing on Friday, the ones that are playing in week 0. And, they don't really know what to tell their players in terms of when's our first game and who are we playing, So it's, that part of it is certainly head scratching to me, but that's how this is, right? I think it's every league for themselves, at least among the Power 5. I think it's in a lot of ways better to be in this position than to be in the Group of 5 leagues and just be sitting back waiting for the Big 5 to really sort of tell you what you get to do. So I guess you're fortunate that you're in the Big 12, but still, it's pretty crazy how this is unfolded. And, part of it, I understand it's difficult to settle on a good plan and then feel like you have a lot of confidence you can play it. But, guys, it's the end of July here. It's time to get going.
Yeah, it is. Max, I know you got to go. Good luck with the phone. The Big 12 media days had to be canceled because why in the hell were the presidents meeting after that? That made no sense whatsoever. Why not be proactive? It just seems like there's always something that just doesn't make much sense. But I know you got to go. If you want to respond to that.
It made no sense. Yeah, I don't know why we would have done a Big 12 media days on Monday morning when the Big 12 isn't even going to decide anything until Monday night, I don't think. So to have one of those where Bob Bowlesby's on a Zoom with us saying we don't know, just doesn't really do much for anybody. So that part I understand. And if you look around the country, nobody else is doing media days, so there was no need to do it in the first place. But that's just how it is. It's a day-by-day process here.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. Jumping in with us on a busy day. Bruce Feldman, by the way, theathletic.com, will join us in an hour. So this is from Michael W. Bratton, SEC Mike, per Feinbaum, who probably has his fingers in the pie. Bama will play Florida and Vanderbilt. Auburn gets South Carolina, Missouri. Arkansas, Georgia, South Carolina. LSU will get UT, but it's Tennessee, not Texas and Kentucky. Ole Miss gets Tennessee and Kentucky. Mississippi State, Georgia, Vanderbilt, A&M, Missouri, and Florida.
So it seems like they were able to make it to where everybody's playing like one good team and then one team that might be bad, okay, or maybe better than normal.
Florida's getting Alabama and A&M, and of course we'll never know about A&M. Maybe this is their year to step up another notch.
Well, Jimbo had a great record against Florida back when he was at another place.
Georgia and Arkansas will play Arkansas, Mississippi State. Kentucky plays LSU, Ole Miss. Missouri, A&M, and Auburn. South Carolina, Auburn, and Arkansas. Ole Miss, LSU now with Tennessee, and Vanderbilt gets Mississippi State and Alabama. They made that happen, boom, just like that.
I wanted to ask Max, but I think I might have asked him, at some point previously, and I know he had to run there, at least for this week, but just of all the games that have been canceled, like what's the one game, if you could say, of all these non-conference, big-time premier matchups that you could have back, just one of them, what would it be? And I'd have to look over the whole schedule again, but I'd be curious to hear what his thoughts on that were, because there's a lot of good games we're now not going to have as a result of everything going on.
Yeah. And I know the numbers of games based on what conferences are doing is a little bit like one might have 8 or 9, one might have 11 or 12. You just have to
have fun figuring out the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, but did you hear what he said? The Big 12, he thinks, as far as he knows, is still committed to playing a 12-game schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Baylor has 11 right now which means they might have to do what the SEC did. In fact, that might be the case.
We saw what Iowa State did. They went and added a game this week.
State?
Yeah, so like they lost the game and then added a game. So, yeah, it seems like the Big 12 is, until they just absolutely cannot, are going to go forward with 12 games. And maybe we do see them have an agreement of some sort, like Billy Liucci, I think, is the one that was talking about. He had heard rumblings that maybe they were going to match up with the Mountain West and just do Big 12 versus Mountain West on one of those weekends. So that would fill a game. That'd fill your schedule.
Hey, it makes sense.
I mean,
and the Power Fives would still line the pockets. The Mountain West doesn't need – they're not like a Stephen F. Austin or an Incarnate Word.
They're better.
The Big 12 it would be hard for them to say, okay, you're going to play your 9 games, plus we're going to play 2 other conference games. Because I don't trust them to give Texas and Oklahoma each other twice.
Well, I mean, it would be kind of unfair, too, just because somebody's getting Kansas twice, and then somebody's going to get, like, Oklahoma twice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I don't know how much they would love to do that.
I don't trust them.
And it would be one of those things. I just know this, that Texas and Oklahoma, like if they're drawing names out of a hat and somebody else went first and they drew Kansas, they'd be like, hey, we got to start over because we're all supposed to have our hands in the bucket at once.
But then again, they were going to play Tennessee and LSU. You know, they step up, and that's what's so. In the end today, Baylor had their best non-conference schedule with both Louisiana Tech, but most importantly, Ole Miss on their schedule, and La Tech can play now. And here we are. Finally, this is what we've been waiting on for almost a decade, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when did the first Ole Miss reports come out? Like 2016?
Yeah, something like that. 2016. So it was about the time Baylor was going through their stuff, and so was Ole Miss with
so that was
Agumake or whatever his name was.
2016. Kim Diche, Robert and Kim Diche, but. So, yeah, 4 years in the making for that game, only for it to get canceled. I mean, it's just...
Laramie Tunsil's a part of that too, right?
Yeah, he was... I mean, Ole Miss suddenly had like 4 or 5 stars in one recruiting class out of complete nowhere and not coming off of like some really national championship type of run, and everybody raised their eyebrows for good reason.
So there's 2 times now, Paul and Craig, and it's been 10 years, this will be my 11th maybe football season. And we know that their non-conference games used to be dog meat, not the good stuff. But they had the game that appeared to be the cow game in Australia or wherever. Never happened.
Yeah.
And then now you have this with Ole Miss on a Sunday night, national television audience. You are the only one playing. And now this goes. It's like, God almighty.
Yeah,
you think Texas and LSU are happy they're not going to play each other?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, all the money they're going to be missing out on and just the opportunity to get a big win and use it for recruiting and all the things that come with that. I mean, we saw what that win did for LSU last year, and Texas probably hoping that it would do the same for them, and LSU hoping it would do the same for them. So, yeah, no, I don't think anybody's too happy about any games being canceled, because even if you have some tougher teams that are no longer in front of you, we still don't know what this thing's going to really look like when all is said and done. You know, you might be in a situation where you get to the end of the year, you have a pretty good record, but the fact that you didn't play some big-time team like that could cost you. So I don't know, man. We know more now than we did before the show started, and certainly more than we've known for the last couple of months, but there's still a lot of questions that we don't know answers to.
What I do think that if you're on the committee this year, you're probably going to have to simplify what you're doing, because a lot of the excuses you can throw out there, well, you're like, oh, well,
game control.
So-and-so didn't play a great schedule. Well, we had one scheduled.
Right.
You know, well, I mean, it's not like we had the choice just because you think more highly of one conference than the other.
Right.
You know, you're just going to have to have some pretty, I would say vanilla criteria, because you couldn't go on. I would think if you went on television, we're like, well, we're just not impressed with the schedule that so-and-so has. Well, that's not their fault.
Well, what if somebody...
You can't coach. You can't build up the other 10 teams on your schedule.
I don't want to add more problems onto the play, but I mean, just seeing what could, happen with the college football playoff. I mean, what happens if somebody's just breezing through their schedule, all of a sudden there's an outbreak, they have to delay for like a month and they can't play any games, and then is that still a playoff team for you if it happens at the end of the year when they haven't played in a month? Like those are the types of things that we're not going to be able to predict. And hopefully there's not too many cases of that, but that's something
that's a great point.
You got to brace for.
But that's also what how many weeks in a row did we sit there and go, what if? But
I know.
It's an absolute scenario that could happen.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of
like you lose a game against Alabama and you lose a game against perhaps Auburn that otherwise would even like legitimize you even more, and then they use that against you.
Yeah, like if let's say you're Oklahoma. Now, probably a bad example because you're going to get the benefit of the doubt from the College Football Playoff Committee has been evidenced, and look, they put themselves in that position, so I'm not knocking them in any way, but if the Big 12 turns out to maybe not look that great this year, just as a result of whatever, and Oklahoma's sitting there and maybe they got a loss or two and everybody's got a loss or two and you're picking who's the best team and you go, well, the Big 12 is really not that great, and Oklahoma didn't play anybody else because no Tennessee game. So
Philip said BYU has often been brought up when a Big 12 school has been added. Do you think the Big 12 would add them? I think that there's no reason they shouldn't at least look at the option like the ACC did with Notre Dame.
If they called BYU right now, they could fill the first month of the schedule. 4 teams could get a BYU game.
Yeah.
Boom, like that, because their whole first month is open. So I would, if I was the Big 12, I'd be on the phone with those guys, and I'd say, hey, BYU, which 4 teams do you want to play? We'll line them up week after week after week after week in August or whatever.
And I think part of that would probably – how much BYU is involved, they've got to get on the phone with the rest of like Houston, San Diego State, like who else is going to cancel on us, and then we need to fill out those other games.
Yeah, but I mean, and then so 6 games have been canceled. So there's 6 of the 9 Big 12 teams that could line up BYU in theory right now if they were to work the schedule a little bit, and then potentially, like Paul said, if a couple others drop off, I mean, the whole dadgum conference could eventually play BYU if you wanted to do it that way.
254-424. I'm going to miss Texas and LSU. That would have been great. And that's the kind of game like it did last year. As I mentioned, I said Brady, but Burrow. It launched LSU. That really, you were like, man, their offense. And it also, Texas didn't lose any respect out of that game. They, you still came out, was it like 47-42 or something?
Shootout, yeah.
It was still one hell of a game. It was that third and whatever it was that was the difference maker when Burrow avoided the rush. That launched him into Heisman Trophy. Like, he wasn't in that mix. And in one night, bam.
Yeah, no, he was there was some scuttlebutt about him because he had looked pretty good the year before. And, I mean, when you're comparing him to recent LSU quarterbacks, it's really not that difficult to look, overly impressive. But he was clearly much better than they'd had at the position in a really long time. And so, that launched his Heisman campaign, and he followed it up with just nothing but wins. So you wonder if that could have maybe been the case with Baylor and Ole Miss. If that launches one of those teams, that launches Baylor. And I do, I'm okay with the game being canceled now at this point because I'm just so tired of talking about it and how stressful it is just to make the game official and then stressful just to get it canceled. But, I mean, it would have been nice to see them go up against a team like that and kind of see how their horses match up with, the SEC horses.
Been waiting 10 years for that game.
You know what is also interesting to me? The SEC now, and they've been built up for years and years on this, they don't have their little late season
cupcake.
UT Chattanooga,
they don't
UT
have
Martin.
Those are all gone now. So now they're going to have that, all right, well.
Well, yeah, the only cupcake is depends on if you call a team a cupcake, which be Vanderbilt or that's Mississippi State down a little bit.
But they got Leach now, so they're going to be they might not be great, Mississippi State, but they're going to be a tough out because of Leach.
They're not going to be great. I mean, his teams at Tech that had the one team and then Washington
really
State
team,
competed a little bit.
But
he's going to be a problem.
He's going to be a tough out.
He's going to annoy the hell out of some people.
Yeah.
Especially in that conference. They're just now starting to understand what kind of offense is run.
You know who hates it? That offense is
Alabama.
Is Nick Saban.
Oh, Leach.
And he's been trying for years to get it, the rules changed to make it somewhat illegal.
Well, we have some things to put our hands in the mud, though, because now there's things to mold a pot, with clay.
Yeah.
Because there's answers. The SEC's click. ACC click. Big Ten, Pac-12. Here we are, though. The Big 12, I thought, was looking really pretty smart in all this. But then again, as one of you said, or maybe Max said this, the Big Ten screwed everybody.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 said, hey,
we don't have our own leadership.
They want to hold, Texas Tech wants to jump on the back of UT and Oklahoma when there's realignment talk. But so then we thought maybe the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 would all kind of have a, hey, guys. And even then they split up. And the ACC broke free before the other two.
But what if the Big 12 ends up going on to be the only one to play 12 games?
God bless them. I would love every
they
second
get a
of
full
it.
season in, and they get all the money that they were anticipating. Maybe not as much because you don't have Baylor, Ole Miss, but if you can fill the empty slots on these schedules, and the other thing that's being kind of forgotten about in this conversation, it's not like a major point, so it's okay that it's not like a main point, but how much money are some of these small schools losing?
Oh,
I mean,
hundreds of thousands of
they're
dollars.
already losing money because there's no sports.
Who was it that went to Lincoln, any of the last 3 or 4 years and got $1 million and beat them? Like, was it Troy or so? I don't know who it was. Anybody. Just name somebody. Northern Illinois?
Yeah, I mean, any of those teams. And so, the schools like that are losing their big money, like get beat up or maybe have a respectable showing, but hey, you're going to make $500K or $1 million for your athletic department. That's out the window now. All those games are completely canceled except for the Big 12 games. So the Big 12, maybe can help out the small schools a little bit by playing these games. Maybe they look like geniuses when all is said and done, or maybe they look like complete idiots. But I'm not really raking them over the coals for not having a decision just yet.
All right, it's 4:23 at the bottom of the hour. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Bruce Feldman, TheAthletic.com will be all over all these decisions and everything. What should the Big 12 do, in your opinion? 254-339-1122. That's the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. That's the number if you want. You can be on Twitter. Contact us that way, at Craig Smoke, at Paul Catalina, at David Smoke. What should the Big 12 do, in your opinion? Continue to wait? Go conference only? Go find another conference, add Brigham Young. What should they do? 254-339-1122. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
What are you supposed to do when you pull up behind a truck that doesn't even have a hitch? I mean, it's like looking at plumber's crack. Do you cover your kids' eyes, look away, and switch radio stations? Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, asking for your help to end this embarrassing form of truck nudity. If you have a truck, at some point you need to pull something. It could be a trailer to haul stuff off to the dump, maybe a jet ski, a boat, an RV, a horse trailer, even just a bike rack. The point is, put a hitch on your truck's backside. And at Pickup Outfitters, we actually install more hitches than anything else. Whether it's a receiver hitch, a gooseneck, or a fifth wheel, we'll cover your aspirations to not drive a nude truck. And all hitches are covered by the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. So cover your rear end with a new hitch from Pickup Outfitters on Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we're fighting to end truck nudity in Central Texas. Check them out on our website at createacommotion.com/hitches.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
From Pat 40 to drop the cherry atop the chaos Sunday of college football. The Big 12 canceled its media day. We mentioned that scheduled for Monday. The cancellation came 3.5 hours after the league sent out instructions for how to access the event and 28 hours after they announced it. Unflippin' real.
Yeah,
Craig?
I just recorded Trust the Podcast earlier today, and Grayson wanted to make sure that we were going over like what topics to discuss, and he's like, yeah, we should probably mention media days, and I'm like, okay, fine, and we really didn't need to, it turns out, because like 2 hours later we found out there wasn't going to be media days, but that's fine.
I get like, for some reason, I'm on Joni Lehman's email list twice. So every time I get an email, it's twice. So twice it's been like, hey, here's the system that you don't need to log into now. Your meeting is canceled.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm okay with that. Like we said, there wasn't going to be any concrete answers to be had, so it was kind of silly to be holding it when there's major questions that no one can answer. But one scheduling note, because like now, as you can imagine, there's just fast and furious scheduling talk all over the place with these conferences determining what they're going to do. But A&M has a scheduling change. Their game with Arkansas is still going to happen, but instead of it being played at AT&T Stadium as it normally is, A&M and Arkansas will now be played at Kyle Field this season. So Aggie fans, make plans accordingly, but Arkansas is now going to be a home game. So there's one of many, many scheduling changes that I'm sure we're going to be rattling off here over the next couple of weeks.
All right. Yep, there's going to be some moving parts, and it could be more even tonight, tomorrow, and over the next 2 or 3 weeks. When we come back, Mickey Spagnola with DallasCowboys.com. A couple of tweets that I just received. I think Brigham Young would be a great option. The problem is if they only have 5 or 6 openings, how do they get to the number of conference games the Big 12 will play?
Well, they have 6 for sure. 6 games have already been canceled for BYU. So you need 3 more. You've got teams like Houston and some others along those lines. So, you know, maybe if those games get canceled, or maybe the Big 12 approaches BYU and says, hey, look, if there's any way you can work this out, we can just make you, like, just like Notre Dame's a member of the ACC this year, make BYU a member of the Big 12 for 1 year. I mean, what's the harm in it? Another conference is doing it anyways, so why not just do that?
From Coach B_Cougs, the Big 12 brass is as incompetent as they come. Bowlesby and company are stuck in their ways. They dig their heels in thinking they're the straw that stirs the drink. I don't think they've ever thought that, but
I don't
they are
think
sadly
that's what they
mistaken.
did at all. I think that they were at the mercy, and I think they did what they actually had to do here because of the SEC. And the difference between Notre Dame and BYU is Notre Dame has NBC money to share. BYU has their own TV network.
Yeah. So that is, that is going to be interesting to see how all of that shakes out.
All right, when we come back, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com.
Summertime means vacation time, and when you hit the road, do it in the vehicle of summer, Jeep. At Alan Samuels, it's our huge summer clearance event. It's on. Get employee pricing on brand new 2020 Jeep Gladiator Sport Editions, plus an additional $1,500 in retail bonus cash. And ask about 0% and no payments for 90 days on other Jeep models. It's time to say goodbye. Adios, 2020s, from Alan Samuels.
Ask for details. All offers with approved credit.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
love Friday Night Lights? Would you like to have a bigger role than just watching the action to ensure the games are played fairly and safely? The Waco football chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO, can make that happen. The 2020 Texas high school football season is right around the corner, and we need you to be a part of it. There's a shortage of officials across the state in all sports, and you can help. If you love the game and want to be a part of the solution, you can help our local student athletes continue to participate in games they love. Never officiated before? Don't worry. Waco Football Chapter can help and prepare you to make the right call. And right now, Introduction to Football Officiating class is accepting registrations. Make your first grade call today by looking us up and contacting us on Facebook at Waco Football Chapter or at our website, wacofootballchapter.com. Find out more about the Waco Football Chapter of the Texas Association of Sports Officials, or TASO. Go to wacofootballchapter.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com.
Prescott gets it complete as Cooper takes it all the way.
All right, here we go. Bruce Feldman, theathletic.com. He'll help break down even more what we've talked about now for almost an hour or so with the SEC's decision today about conference only, plus a couple of new crossover games for this year, and how it affects the Big 12. We've mentioned the games that have been postponed or canceled, excuse me. We're now joined by Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, there's a video, and I think maybe it's Bobby Belt. I don't know who was the one that put it up on Twitter, but there's about maybe 3 to 5 plays of Dak making plays that make no sense whatsoever, not because he threw a bad pass, but somehow he completed a pass in a big moment. Did I see you kind of make a comment on that one as well? Was that the same thing?
Yeah, I just forwarded it, I think, on my Twitter account. And and it started a firestorm here over the last several hours of guys going back and forth on is Dak good or is he not good? And I couldn't resist. I said, I love this. Go back and forth. There's some passion. Football must be close.
Yes, exactly right. No, you're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Paul?
Mickey, so the Cowboys have had 2 guys opt out. One of them was a rookie free agent. The other one was, he was a special teamer in a 3rd or 4th defensive back at best. Now that everybody's kind of reported, do you expect any other opt-outs? Are they nervous about that? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. We certainly haven't had any contact with folks, but I mean, the opt-out deadline, I believe, is Monday. I don't see it. You just never know what might happen. I mean, the 2 guys that opted out, I think they had about 5% chance of making the team. So yeah, guys that can look at their situation and say, I don't know about this. And for the young guy, I mean, the Cowboys would have his rights for next year. So maybe he just figured he'd take a season off and we'll see what happens with Maurice Kennedy.
you said he might be the third defensive back. I would think
at best. I mean, that's.
I was looking at the corners, and he may be the sixth one, and maybe not even that. So to me, I think he looked at it. He got a little bit of a signing bonus, not a lot, and decided that maybe if he was worried about playing, that he's really not risking much at this point.
So, Mickey, what does kind of the schedule look like? I know everybody's been following the headlines, but it's been so hard to keep track of everything. So how is training camp going to actually operate? What's going on right now, and what does it look like moving forward?
Well, so the veterans showed up on Tuesday, and they were tested for COVID-19 Tuesday, Wednesday. Today they have to wait 24 hours. They'll test again on Friday, and if you test negative those 3 times, they would be allowed back in the building on Saturday. They can start getting their physicals taken, start getting fitted for equipment, and then the first day that they can start strength and conditioning would be Monday, and they're allowed. So it's the ramp up time: 60 minutes of weight room, 60 minutes of conditioning over those first 4 days, and then after that, you can kind of ramp up and start getting some on-field walkthroughs. So really, the first time they'll actually have anything resembling a football practice looks like it would be August 12th and 13th, which would be like an OTA practice. You can put a helmet on and shorts. You have a couple of those, and then the first time really that they would put the pads on would be August 17th. So there would be kind of OTA type practices. I think the last 4 days of that period you can put on shells and helmets, and then starting the 17th you have 14 padded practice over the next 20 days before you get into the first week of the season.
Man, it's so, like the traditional, they would be, what is today? July 30th. We would be at training camp. Yeah, we would be at training, and the Cowboys would be getting ready for, what, am I right? Would they be getting ready for, were they going to play the game in Canton? They were.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. The Canton game was August 6th, I want to say. I got it here. August 6th, yeah. So they would have been leaving probably August 4th or 5th to head to Canton to play that game. If you look at last year, they had already practiced a couple times in pads. They were ready for a day off. And David, the other thing I saw was, so yesterday when I looked up what was going on the 29th, my notes column said we woke up and it was 61 degrees.
God. Could use that right now.
Hey, actually, I think that a year ago today might have been the day that that Brad was yelling at Chuck Taylor to shut the F up.
I think that's probably when we had lost our patience with getting woken up at that early hour of the morning, yeah.
Yes, it might have been a time when all of a sudden our radio station at the time where we used to work went straight to hell because of the cables being cut.
Yeah.
Craig? Which, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Hey, Mickey, do you follow the NFL 100 at all? Do you keep track of that?
I peruse over it. Yeah, I don't like copy it down and everything, but I did go through the list.
Yeah, I was just curious if you did on what your thoughts were as far as where the Cowboys they had on that list were placed.
Well, for a top 100, I guess I didn't count them all up, but there was a good number of them listed. So I guess the players that do vote on that thought something of the talent on this Cowboys team. Now it's a matter of making sure you stay healthy. Now, a lot of the guys that were listed on there, though, were offensive guys, probably not enough defensive guys. And, that'll be, to me, the question going into this season is you expect this offense to be, awfully good. They had the number one offense last year in yards, second in passing yards. So if they can the defense can get off the field and get the offense on the field, and maybe every once in a while give it a short field, it could be pretty good. The funny thing was so we had a conference call with Trayvon Diggs today, and just thinking about the cornerback position, and for some reason I started looking to the last several years. I think the most interceptions they've had in one season was 3. And that was Jeff Heath, and he's no longer here. That was 2017, and I had to go back all the way until 2007 to find a cornerback that had 7 interceptions in a season. Other than that, everything's been less. So if this defense can figure out how to get off the field and maybe get some takeaways, this offense might even be better than that if they get a few short fields.
Yeah, they just have so many, there's so many weapons. The offensive line, so you have Tyron Smith, and you have Lyle Collins, and you have Martin. Who do you think starts? Is Connor Williams left guard? And is the kid from Wisconsin your starting center? Is it Looney? Who's it going to be?
Yeah, and the hard thing to say, David, is there enough time for competition between now and the first game, enough practices for someone like Tyler Biadish to show enough to say, okay, I can be this starting center. Because, if he's the starting center, then Looney can serve his role and be the backup center guard on game day. That's a pretty valuable position to have. But if he's the starter at center, then you're going to have to figure out someone's got to be the backup center, and is that backup center capable of being the backup guard, or do you have to have a backup center and a backup guard and a backup tackle, and now you've got 8 guys on the offensive line that have to be active on game day. So I think the guard position. I mean, it's going to come down to Connor Williams if he's ready to go. If he's, in my understanding, he should be by the time they put the pads on, coming back from the torn ACL. I know a lot of people think a lot of Connor McGovern, but he didn't play last year. And he has no off season. So that hurts him. Biadish gets hurt by not having an off season here. But you know what? And I went and looked back and looked at this. He's really, with the exception of Cam Irving, who basically they signed as a free agent to be the backup swing tackle, he played a couple snaps at center last year. Biadish is the only guy on the roster that actually played center last year. Now, I know it was at Wisconsin, but the snaps that Looney got, other than a couple garbage time snaps, were all at guard. Connor McGovern didn't play. Connor Williams has never played center. You would like to see some competition, and maybe Looney's the starter. But as the season goes along, if Biadish comes along, maybe he takes over. I mean, they really need that pick to hit. And if not for this year, then certainly for next year. And then you got the other guys that can fight it out at guard, and somebody can be the backup center guard. I was told that, Connor Williams basically went to him and said, hey, if you want me to put the hand on the ball and see if I can do this, I'm all in. I'll try whatever it takes to get on the field. So, but it's a good question because those are question marks, and you've got very little time once the pads come on to figure it out. So know-how might be more important than how well you play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mickey, on the corner, we talked about cornerback earlier, but Trayvon Diggs is the second-round draft pick as a rookie. I know that he probably penciled in early on as the third cornerback, but just given Jordan Lewis's skill at kind of moving around, do you expect maybe to see that third cornerback be not necessarily what the, like in the slot, it would just be maybe you're just the third guy on the field when they're in those sets?
Yeah, and that's another position. I think there's going to be great competition there. But again, do young guys have enough time to get out there and gain the trust of the coaching staff? And as you guys know, being around football, the trust factor again is almost bigger and better than your skill factor, because they got to trust you. And so, they know what Chidobe Awuzie can do. They know what Anthony Brown can do. They know what Jordan Lewis can do. But with the other guys, and, you throw in Worley, the free agent signing they had. He's capable of playing. He started at corner. He's capable of playing safety. And then you got your two rookies coming in with Diggs and Robinson. And so there's 5 and Worley 6. And so that takes me back to Kennedy. He was a long shot to make the team. But I think there's going to be some great competition there. The question is there enough time to compete before it's time to go? And that'll be key for a lot of teams, I think, on deciding who's going to play, who's going to start, and who isn't. They've at least got tape on Awuzie in the NFL. They've got tape on Anthony Brown, and they re-signed him. I don't know if you want to put Jordan Lewis out on the edge as a corner, or do you want him as a nickel guy? And so a lot of it's going to have to do with Diggs. And, I kind of liked his attitude. Did a conference call with him today. And, they were asking him what he thought about how this thing was going to start and what his objective is. He goes, I'm coming in here to compete. He goes, I'm competing for a starting job. And I go, you know what? That's what I want to hear from my cornerback. I don't want kind of a shy guy. I want a guy that's out there, right, and's got confidence in himself. Now, if he can play as well, and I thought it was interesting that he spent this offseason in Miami working out with his brother Stephon, and going up against him and doing drills, and so he sounded like he was ready to go. Now he's got to get on the field and be able to prove it.
All right, last question. The Big 12, the SEC today said they're going to go conference only, and they're going to have 2 extra crossover games. Missouri has been assigned A&M and Auburn, which is probably the 2 best, other than Florida having to play Bama and A&M. That's the hardest of the 2 crossover games that were added. So the Tigers, you happy with that news?
Well, you know what? Here's my take on this season. Anything we get out of it is a plus, and I don't know how much stock you can put into what's going on or what happens or what the results are. If these teams can end up playing 10 games, it's a darn success. And regardless of what the record is, at least you played, right? I just think we have to take this season with a grain of salt. These guys aren't going to have practice very much, and who knows what's going to happen going forward with health situations. I mean, as we see, you can have all the greatest protocols in the world, all the safety mechanisms working, but guys are going to test positive. You're going to miss games. So I just don't know how you would be able to evaluate a season like this. So to me, if they're playing, great. And if they can stay healthy, great. After that, I just don't know that you can hold a coach accountable for whatever the record's going to be. And if that sounds kind of wishy-washy, I'm sorry, but that's kind of the way I feel about things right now, because we just don't know, right? Yeah. There's no way to tell, and I think I've told you this before when I talk about the Cowboys season or what the schedule is, and I always qualify it at the end with, well, we'll see. And so now we're going to see. Yeah. But between the opt-outs and guys testing positive, look at the Eagles. Lane Johnson tests positive. I don't know how long he's going to be out. The Giants, Nate Solder, decides to opt out for family health reasons, and I understand that. Marquise Goodwin from here in suburban Dallas, he's opting out for family health reasons. So we'll see how that all ends up on Monday. But again, we just don't know. We just don't know how this thing's going to turn out.
Mickey, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it. Stay safe. Mickey Spagnuolo with us Thursdays at 4:30 on SicEm365 Radio. My Twitter feed, I asked the questions I asked you guys on what would you like to see. And you get Paul, you give me yours in a kind of quick way, and then Craig, you as well. Would you rather just see for them if, in fact, there's other games that become attrition? But we now know that there's going to be those Big 12 crossover games with the SEC that are gone. All of them were pretty good games. So would you rather see them work something out with Brigham Young across the board and add them like Florida, like Notre Dame did with the ACC? Find a group of 5 conference and just have like a match play like you do in basketball? Would you rather them then, no, just add 2 more, what you're going to have to take the risk somebody might play each other 3 times, but add 2 more conference games to the 9 you have? Or just take a deep breath and wait yet a few more, maybe 3 to 5 days?
I would go ahead and add BYU to whatever you need to whoever needs that, and put it on and play 10 games minimum and move on.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. You can go a lot of different directions, but, I mean, if you can make the BYU thing work, then I think that makes a ton of – I mean, again, it's just doing what the ACC is doing with Notre Dame. It just makes a ton of sense. You've already got –
How do you get them to the number of games?
Well, they got 6 already.
I'm talking about conference games. Because they would be competing for the conference title like Notre Dame is?
Yeah.
Well, they would they'd have to ditch some of their other games.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're going to have to drop some people. They've already had some people drop.
If you're,
probably
being
going to
invited
happen anyway.
if you're being invited to the Big 12 for a year, do you think you're going to hesitate on saying, sorry, Houston, you're off the schedule?
Hey, Northern Illinois, I appreciate you guys taking our call. But
yeah, but we might go win a Big 12
San Antonio,
title.
Jeff Traylor was on with us yesterday, and it was a great segment with him. They're going to lose $2.4 million because of the games that have already now been blocked out, with one of those being LSU. Jeff yesterday, he wasn't lying. He was like, hey, that's okay. Eric Abercrombie just continued from 2019, play Oklahoma yet again. Winner 2 out of 3 games for Baylor. G-Dub, just hoping dudes like Charlie can go out with the way they deserve, and tough, gritty kid that's deserved everything asked of him and more. Ryan, every other sport is back now. If literally every sport can figure out a way to play, then so can football. We'll be good to go in September. 61 properties was negative. But he had a smiley face. They'll be like baseball, just fail miserably, might play 3 games, and that's it. Josh, find a couple of independent teams and bring them in for a 1-year deal so they can play a full schedule.
That's interesting because I'm watching baseball on TV right now, and I'm pretty sure the Nationals and Blue Jays have played way more than 3 games. So I may be wrong on that. But, no, I mean, yeah, maybe it does, but we'll never know if we don't try.
Let's make sure that does include a home and home with Texas and Kansas.
Yeah. By the way, with the Marlins, just so
add BYU
to do that, Major League Baseball is pretty, gung-ho to get this in. The Marlins can sign free agents, and they can they can pull all these people on the list, and they can sign free agents, and they can get their games in. So it's not the end of the world.
Josh Lassiter, easy answer. To do BYU what the ACC did with Notre Dame, then play 10 games. Ty Stimson, his son played at Waco High, I think it was. Extra conference game with a possibility there's a chance a team might meet the 3 times, as you mentioned. That way you can have uniform COVID protocols for every game. Give BYU from own goal hat trick a 1-year trial membership for football. This is going to be a lot of weird stuff.
By the way, here, quick, some NFL news. Shady McCoy, 1-year deal with the Bucks. Yeah.
I watched him a few times last year with Buffalo. No, where was he last year?
Last year
Denver?
he was with the Chiefs, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
none of us have any idea, huh?
He's just I think he was. I think he was with the Chiefs.
I saw him on a couple. Maybe it was because it was the Chiefs and their offense is so dynamic, and
But yeah, he was with the Chiefs last year, and went back with Andy Reid, and he was a role player, and he'll be a role player in Tampa. Now he's just at the point in his career he's chasing rings.
Kerry Ritchie on Twitter at Kerry_Ritchie. The FBS programs that still, as of now, at this moment, have a full 12-game schedule intact: Florida International, Iowa State, SMU, Texas State, Tulsa, UTEP. That's it in the country.
How did Iowa State?
Well, they added Ball State.
Oh, yeah.
Florida International, Iowa State, SMU. All of these are Texas schools except Florida International and Iowa State, and they're attached to the Big 12. Of note, UTEP and Texas State have New Mexico State on the schedule And, of course, that governor has right now said, we're shutting down fall. So that's just a little nugget as well. All right, we'll have Bruce Feldman coming up next. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. This is SicEm365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Big, heavy, metal, bulky material, building something big or even something that just needs really strong materials and products. Well, Pioneer Steel and Pipe's been doing that for 77 years. Nearly 80 years, nearly 8 decades, they have been going strong at Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Metal, steel, you want to build a big old fence around whatever you have as far as a big yard or landscaping, or possibly you have a ranch or some large area out in the country, and you need something to build a fence. That's a big fence, but you know what? They've got all the big product you need. Also, structural steel, beams, channel iron, flat iron, square tubing, angle iron. They'll help you with a project, suggestions on design, provide you with a reliable list of contractors, metal buildings and components, and offering high-quality materials will make sure your metal building bids are structurally sound. They've been doing this for years, and so they understand what to do, how to do it. Big buildings, competitors can kind of make big buildings lighter to make them cheaper. Pioneer Steel and Pipe will also help make sure that you don't compromise structural integrity. Largest pipe inventory gives you many options on building a nice fence or entryway, and also the fastest turnaround time in the business on metal building orders. And if you want, they'll deliver and unload for you. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, if you can't get there during the week, they're open on Saturdays, 8 until noon, both Waco and Bryan, pioneerboys.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodway. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family-owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lakeyard Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Takes a shot for Claypool at the pylon. Climbs the ladder. Is he in? Yes! It's a Notre Dame touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Behind the scenes, thanks to Dylan Chapman, Deontay Epps, thanks to Amelia as well, Myers, for helping us out behind the scenes. Paul, Craig, David Smoke here on SicEm365 Radio. I guess, Bruce Feldman, the ACC got the spotlight yesterday. The SEC getting it today. Hold my beer, I guess, if you're the Big 12. Your thoughts about what you think they might end up doing with everyone else making their minds up?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a full sense from talking to somebody, an AD in the conference a couple of days ago, is that this whole notion that everybody was going to try to be on the same page, especially after the Pac-12 and Big Ten announcements, that seemed further and further from reality. And, I think it feels like everyone's scrambling at this point.
With the Big 12 kind of determined to do 12 games, do you think that that's even possible right now, or would that require like other conferences that have already made plans adjusting them?
I think they're going to have to be in such a reaction mode across college football. I mean, look, one of the reasons why I'm told that the SEC went to this delayed model is because a lot of their medical staff feels like, hey, we got a little bit of a handle on how this is going to work since our players have been back with our teams in the facilities for about a month. And their feeling was we're bracing for when the regular students come back and for a surge in cases, and this gives us more flexibility. So I think that's why you saw them go much later than the other conferences were anticipating. And so we'll see how this is going to play out, certainly with the Big 12 teed up to go week 0. We'll see if that can actually happen.
Bruce, there's been a lot of talk over the years about there being some sort of a college football authority figure. Some people, use the term the college football czar, if you will. And it certainly seems like this is a time period when everybody's kind of making their own individual decisions. It would have been nice to have more communication. Is there any possibility of a role like that in the future where the schools fight that too much?
I think the schools and the conferences would fight it a lot. I mean, they don't want to be told what to do. You think Greg Sankey wants to be told what to do? Do you think that the Big Ten wants to be dictated to? I mean, we're seeing examples right now when their backs are against the wall of how they're going to react. I mean, it's fine for those of us in the media. I mean, my old colleague Tim Brando has been chirping about a czar for a long time, but that's not something I think a lot of people want, who run the sport really want, because they don't feel like it'll likely be in their best interest. I mean, the SEC didn't want to play the same number of conference games as everybody else did to get into the playoffs, and they didn't have to. So you think that one of the most influential and richest conferences is going to go, yeah, we're going to give up control to somebody else who may legislate it and make decisions that we don't think are in our best interest? I don't know. I'm skeptical of that.
Do you think somehow, with the reaction to the SEC that ended Baylor in their game with Ole Miss having their best non-conference start game in a long time, and Tennessee, Oklahoma, obviously LSU, Texas, and others, do you feel like, is there a chance, is there enough time, Bruce, to do what the ACC did with Notre Dame and do it with Brigham Young?
I don't think anything's off the table, honestly. And that's a good program with obviously a terrific following. Travel schedule would be challenging there, but the Big 12 is more spread out, so or relatively spread out. I mean, certainly with putting a team in Utah would present some challenges, but right now I think we're in uncharted waters. So I wouldn't say anything's off the table.
Do you think that the playoff committee will have to amend the way that they look at certain things because of the schedule this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, use this premise that what happens if Clemson, which a lot of people and myself included think is the most talented team in the ACC, has a position room that has half the guys quarantined and out for a game or two, and they lose those games. I suspect the committee will go, well, those players are back. We're going to take that, I would say take it with a grain of salt, but we're going to take that into account. And I think just with less sample size, with less, of a measuring stick between one league versus the next, I mean, that's going to be a huge difference for them to try to sort out.
Bruce, with college football the way that it is nowadays, obviously it's just so crazy. Are you surprised in any way, shape, or form that they have had such a problem handling this? I mean, I guess it's all new for everybody, but, I mean, has it even surprised you how inept maybe it's looked at times?
No, because there's just not a lot of leadership going on. I mean, I think we're seeing a leadership void all over the place, and certainly, you see it with the NCAA, so this doesn't surprise me right now. And look, realistically, I had this conversation with, I worked on a story with Andy Staples the other day about this particular time frame that's going on with college athletics this week and next week as a key time, and talked to a lot of ADs. And one of my conversations was, I don't envy the people who are college administrators and certainly college presidents or ADs right now. There are no easy answers at all. And so it's not surprising to me that it seems like there's a big void here. I mean, it's just a really rocky time to be in a position of leadership, especially at this point with college athletics, because college football is so different than the NFL and certainly the NBA, which has a bubble, and those we're talking about professional athletes. And here you are talking about the biggest amount of rosters, the biggest number of rosters, a physical contact sport without the same money for testing that the NFL has. And it's also very, very regionalized in terms of the leadership. It's fragmented. It's just a real mess.
Bruce Feldman, theathletic.com with us, and I know it's a busy day and you've got things to do because of the decisions being made now, but the opting out factor that we've seen in the NFL, we're starting to see that in college football. Do you feel like we're going to have kind of a mass exodus like the transfer portal, or do you think it'll be kind of just picking and choosing?
I think it'll be picking and choosing. I mean, we saw a really good player from Virginia Tech who's arguably the top cornerback prospect in the country. He was a guy on the freaks list. He already announced, but I mean, he was a player who's coming off of back surgery. He's had some medical issues. He's had some family challenges with his mom passing from cancer. You're talking about a 6'2" cornerback who has blazing speed. He's got film for the NFL to look at and to make that decision. I think the idea you're going to see guys who probably aren't even looked at as top 100 prospects just listening to an agent or jumping out because they think it. There'll be a handful of those, but I don't think it's going to be a mass exodus.
I know I wanted to ask you the question. Go ahead, Paul. I know you had a couple more questions for Bruce Feldman.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, you mentioned the freaks list. Is that the most fun thing you do every year?
It is. I mean, it gives me a great insight into what's going on inside of programs. And, I talked to so many coaches, strength coaches and NFL scouts to put that thing together. I mean, it's just a real fun project for me to do. And it's something that I've gotten so much great feedback from people inside of college football. So every year, this was a unique year because there wasn't much of an off season, meaning there wasn't also much time for those kind of, vertical jump tests, power cleans and 40s and all those things that they will at some point, rep their guys and test it out and you get results. There was a handful that did that, but that just meant we had to make a lot more calls and do a lot more interviews and send out a lot more text messages for it.
Bruce, we're not going to have all these major non-conference games that we had been looking forward to, but if you just as a fan and a media guy could snap your fingers and get one of those big major non-con games back, which one were you most looking forward to?
Ooh, that's a great question. I was really looking forward to Ohio State going out to play Oregon week 2. The Mario Cristobal is recruited really, really well, and I think that Ohio State is loaded. I think that would have been a really fun matchup. That's the first one. It's not to say it's the only one, but that was the first one that came to mind. I was really interested also to see if Tom Herman could get some revenge when they go to Baton Rouge against LSU after what happened last year in Austin. But obviously that game's not going to happen. But, I'll be honest, this has been the last 2 days has at least gotten your blood pumping a little bit and saying, hey,
Yep.
You know what? We may have a season and at least try it. And just after hearing it's just like, it's like, it's not just you guys are in the same boat. It's our livelihood. So you desperately want it back and everything, but it's just a passion because this is why we get into covering games is because you love it. And so just the idea that some of this, it's like, okay, let's get our fingers crossed and hopefully things can proceed like this.
When we contacted you, and we'll end it with this, the Friday night test that TCU coach Gary Patterson administers to his defense, it's a very thorough. We know what Gary is when it comes to defensive mind. Your thoughts about that story, the maybe 1 or 2 points in that story that maybe is not your favorite, but things that kind of intrigued you the most?
Yeah, it was that Friday night test where, I sat in the back of the room. My TV crew had them against Texas the next day, and sitting there listening to all these players, it was like they were speaking a foreign language. And I urge people to go click on that story on The Athletic because you'll see Garrett Wallow, who is a first-team all-conference player. I said, tell me what you had to say. And he remembered verbatim what he had to say in the first game he played at TCU. He was a freshman. They were playing Jackson State. And I've included that soundbite on there so people can hear. You imagine that times 60 because that's probably how many players get tested in that. And the purpose of that really is just because Gary Patterson waits till the very last possible second to send in what, the play call to react to what he thinks the defense is going to do. And so those players better be so on point. And so that's where that video, that test really, really comes in handy. So again, I would say, definitely listen to the link. It'll give you a sense of exactly what those players are going through and how fast they have to think. And everything, and all the detail that's crammed into such a small amount of time.
Appreciate it, Bruce. Thank you so much. Bruce Feldman with us. Always great stuff. He writes some fantastic features as well on Thursday on theathletic.com. I know Gary Patterson is a 4-letter word, but he's a brilliant defensive mind. And we know how good he is at what he does. He can drive you nuts. But, remember Matt Rule used to talk about how he gave his team a test. I'm not sure this is not like unique, but remember he sent a guy home one time because he had some kind of residue on a test.
Yeah, that guy was not on the team for much longer after that either. And that was somebody that a lot of people were bummed about at the time, but yeah, that was not really one where you could say, yeah, we'll just gloss over that. But, yeah, Bruce was great, as always. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of uncertainty, but as he said there towards the end, at least we've got something to get excited about, and that's football and the fact that it's coming back. I mean, tonight you got the NBA, right? So NBA season is starting up, and college football is at least making plans versus the complete unknown that we had about 2 weeks ago, much less even going further back when it looked like – I mean, there's a lot of people out there, even some listening right now, and this goes for all across the country, that if it was up to them, they would have canceled the season a month ago or 2 months ago and already had called it completely off. But thankfully, the people in charge did not do that, and we are going to have an opportunity, depending on how, the build-up to it goes. That's going to be the key, is the build-up. And once everybody gets back on campus, what does it really look like? Because it's one thing when Oklahoma's getting 0 positives amongst their 152 athletes or whatever, but then when several thousand kids from all over the country move back on campus, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to reel that in.
Well, and again, that's going to create more temptation. And who buys in?
Right.
And professional athlete, and that's what makes me nervous. If you have professional athletes getting paid millions of dollars who know that your whole season hinges on the fact that you don't do what you normally do, going to a strip club in Atlanta because they just had to do it, it's going to make you nervous as you get down the ranks of people who aren't getting paid to do it.
Yep.
And some teams will buy in because they have that, because they say, this is what I want to do. Is this important? I can, for a few months, not do what I normally did until this is over. Or they can be like, no, I don't care. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy, but I wanted to bring this up too. I saw this as a good quote from Gabe Eichert, who's a former Oklahoma offensive lineman. Does a bunch of stuff like radio-wise up there. I think he's actually the sideline reporter even for the Oklahoma broadcast. But he got into an back and forth with Dan Walken, who maybe is one of the most least likable college football writers. As far as if you were to like poll fans and say like who's your favorite, who's your least favorite, I would think Dan Walken would be represented in the least favorite category just based on how people typically respond to whatever he writes. But Dan Walken took a shot at the Big 12, said that it's wild they're trying to play a full game schedule. And this was in response, and actually from a couple of days ago, because Brett McMurphy had tweeted out that Iowa State had added a game. And so Dan Walken says, Big 12 trying to play a full 12-game schedule is wild to me. And Gabe Eichert said, is trying to play 12 really much different than playing 10 or 10 plus 1, especially if the teams come to an agreement on testing protocols? It's not. It's like it's 1 to 2 games difference. So I don't think the Big 12's that crazy for trying to play 12 versus others who are playing 10 or 11. I mean, really, we're splitting hairs, really, if we're trying to make one seem like it's that much crazier than the other.
Again, the time is running out, but there's still a little bit of a left. I don't know if the Big 12 now will just the word's not panic, but kind of go, oh my God, everyone else has done their thing, and so we need to probably do ours. But by the way, are you guys getting now phone calls on your phone that says telemarketer?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It
or
usually
spam risk.
It's government got on that.
Yeah.
So it's giving you the heads up that it's so it's not the number anymore.
Yeah.
That's what the government did. Okay, I'm just curious because I've seen that like three or four times.
Part of the reason they did it is a bunch like John Oliver from Last Week Tonight and some other people got on this thing where the 3 people who were in charge of like making those regulations, they created a spam call that called their office once an hour every day for like 3 months.
Good for them. Yeah. So now, because you never know. I usually don't pick up a phone if I see a number unless I'm expecting like a specific call or whatever. But so still, I don't know if the Big 12 will rush or they'll wait till Monday.
I mean, what's the rush at this point? I mean, other than the fact that the season's starting soon, but I don't think like. The only way I would bash the Big 12 in this, and I'm not like some Big 12 homer either, but the only way I would really criticize them in any way would be if, they really right now don't have any idea of what they're doing. But based on what we heard from Mack Rhoades over the last few weeks, they've had all of these plans in front of them. They've been waiting for some dominoes to fall. They've kind of almost been waiting for others to make their decision so they can make their decision in some ways. I mean, because of games like Baylor, Ole Miss, Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee that are now all off the table. So you weren't going to cancel SEC games if the SEC was going to play, because why would you want to cancel Baylor, Ole Miss, Texas, LSU, and Oklahoma, Tennessee if you don't have to? So I think that the kind of poo-pooing on them right now is sort of silly. Let's see what they do first. They could screw it up, no doubt, but I don't think that they need to be like getting raked over the coals at the moment until we figure out what their decision is.
It's just weird how everyone after after the Big Ten bolted and made their own decision, how everyone felt like they were blindsided, and then everyone turns around and basically just spends their time blindsiding the next conference.
I mean, I'm thankful that the Big 12 is actually taking their time versus, doing the Pac-12 move and just following the leader and just doing so because another conference did it. I mean, now they're forced into having to do something because of what other conferences did, but it's everybody else. It's not just like it was one and then they, oh my gosh, the Big 10 said this, we better go cancel our season. No, they've waited and they're the last ones standing at this point. But again, if they get 12 games in, and they figure out a way to do that schedule versus everybody else who does 10 or 11, then, I mean, who's going to be – I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to be laughing at the end of this, but, I mean, if they can get that done, then great. That's fantastic. And if they can't, they can't.
All right, when we come back a little bit more, going kind of look back at what we have, the biggest story today. Yesterday, the ACC, the McLennan County ruling, of course, that was on Tuesday night, but we covered the hell out of it yesterday, among others. And more on college football. 254-339-1122, the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line. That's also the phone number to call. What would you like to see the Big 12 do? Wait a little longer. Get in touch with Brigham Young, who's lost half their schedule. Have them cancel the others and say, you play everybody once. And that adds another game. It would make a 10-game conference schedule. Find a Power 5 or find a group of 5 conference and just figure out a way to match up with them like you do in basketball for one of those like Big 12 SEC, weekends. Or you have a schedule where you add a couple of new conference games, but it's among who you already play in at least once, and you might end up playing 3 times. But who's going to end up getting the best of that draw? This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. The sale is almost over. Employee pricing all throughout the month of July, but here we are, and we are at the tail end of July. You still have a little bit of time to take advantage of the great deals, but it is employee pricing, so you're paying what employees pay. Qualified buyers can save over $7,000 on 2020 Acadias or Yukons. You can also save $6,000 on a GMC Terrain. They also got the Buick Encores right now, only $19,900. That's a savings of $6,000 on a 2020 Buick Encore. They've also got the line of Cadillacs, XT4, XT5, and the 7-passenger Cadillac XT6. The XT4 right now is available for only $35,900 at Richard Carr Cadillac. And when you buy a car from Richard Carr, you not only get great prices, but you get free oil changes with your purchase, plus in-town priority warranty service whenever you buy a vehicle at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. They are the people you can count on, a local family dealer run by Baylor alumni that wants the chance to earn your business. So stop by their daily disinfected showroom, see their safety-focused staff, or they can bring the test drive to you. Bring it right to your home. Your comfort and safety is their first priority. Find them online at richardcarr.com or Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Corley. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's summer. Time to go somewhere in a new Jeep from Allen Samuels. It's our huge summer clearance event featuring 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days on our hottest models. Pick a new 2020 Jeep Cherokee Latitude with $5,750 in total values or 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or the fun 2020 Jeep Renegade with up to $7,000 in total values or 0% for 72. Adios 2020s from Allen Samuels.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate, unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more. Stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The SicEm365 Radio poll is brought to you by Pickup Outfitters, where everything purchased and installed comes with our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance. 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
Welcome back into SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoke. Smokey had to step out real quick, so we'll take you through the rest of the show. Just about a half hour left. And Craig, scheduling-wise, like, I'm with you. I think the Big 12 did exactly what they should have done. Because for years, I mean, at least a decade, they get dragged because they don't have a good non-conference schedule. This year, they're like the last couple of years, it looks like that's kind of happening. And
I think that was more Baylor getting dragged in.
But, I mean,
because, Texas and OU and TCU and all those teams were still playing good teams. That was really Baylor.
But, I think Iowa State got a little bit of it, and I think that, some of the other ones. I just think that sometimes it would be like, as a whole, well, the Big 12 conference, they didn't have any kind of scheduling requirement like some of the other ones did they were the last ones in on that. I just think it was good to see if they could make it happen and let somebody else make the decision. What difference does it make if you're a day behind the SEC on this?
Yeah, I rambled on it a bit, so I won't do that here. But, there's no timetable except for the fact you've got games later this month. And, I kind of all laid it out why I thought that it's not that big of a deal that they're the last one to make a decision. They were waiting to see what others did. There's nothing wrong with that. Had others done it all right away, then maybe the Big 12 feels the need to go ahead and follow everybody's lead last week. But, that didn't happen. And now they didn't follow that lead the first time around. They haven't followed that lead the second time around now that a couple of others have made their decisions. So we'll see what they do. I really have no idea. They can go 3 different ways. And right now it looks like, they're still going to try the 12. That seems the most unlikely, quite frankly. But as we were just saying again, if they can do it, then great. But it might be just 9 conference games. It might be 9 plus 1. We'll just have to see on that. But we're now waiting on the Big 12. But there's no shot clock running down on them right now.
Yeah, the College Football Playoff Committee, Bill Hancock, he's a lobbyist. That's essentially what he is, and their spokesperson. Since there won't be as many non-conference games as normal, certain tools used by the committee, such as head-to-head results and results against common opponents, will have limitations this year. Evaluating strength of schedule will also be different. I don't see the potential difference in the number of games teams play as a significant factor. Fact is, the committee has dealt with successfully with that nearly every season. That is not true.
No, it's not.
That's
true.
absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. Because the Big 12
they were forced into making a conference championship game.
So, yeah. Unless he considers the success of the committee forced a conference into making a conference championship game when they didn't want to have one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was pretty much strong-arming them into doing something, and that was an issue with the committee. It was an issue when Baylor was in the mix along with TCU. That they didn't have a championship game. So it's just typical college football playoff committee to say one thing and then, react differently or talk out of both sides of their mouth. They've always done that throughout the entire tenure of the college football playoff committee, sometimes more egregiously than others. I don't feel like I'm saying that right. But, with that first year, and I get it, that first year they were flying by the seat of their pants, but the game control suddenly being a thing one week and not being a thing the next week, or your non-con's a thing one week and then all of a sudden the next week it's not. Why is it not all of a sudden? Well, because the teams that we have in here now, we don't need to use that reasoning for them. And it was just never, it was always something every week, something different, some new term that they had coined, some new metric that they had created. And I'm fine with the way that it's worked out. I think they've always ended up, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, in this short sample size, they've gotten the teams right. But, Yeah, that's total blatantly false what he said there. That number of different the different number of games has never had an impact. It absolutely has. That's a total lie.
Yeah. No, I mean, they've dealt with it successfully in the past. I mean, that's such a broad way to say
dealt with
it.
successfully if we strong-armed the team that didn't have the same amount as the other teams into having the same amount, then you dealt with it successfully by basically telling them that if they didn't get their act together and make an extra game, then they weren't going to have as much consideration for the playoff. I mean, that's basically what they said. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you dealt with that successfully, I guess. I mean, yeah, technically it was successful. I don't know how much that was dealing with as much as forcing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. I mean, like, dealt with it. I mean, but that's what they do. That's how they kind of throw that stuff out there is, I don't agree. Dealing with it to me is just, that's such a stupid way to say that, in my opinion. It really is. I don't at all agree with, with that assessment. But that's Bill Hancock. He annoys me a lot when he says some of the things that he says, but I also take into account that he's a lobbyist, and that's what he's doing. He's lobbying for what they are, and he's the PR head of that, and nothing's ever wrong with it. But, the problem with the College Football Playoff Committee is they don't really need, only one of the rankings matters, and, for our entertainment and to create more buzz, they have all these meaningless, polls every week to throw it out there to see what they're thinking, but it doesn't really matter until I want them to meet every week, and I want them to have discussions because I don't want them the first time they meet to be right before, and then that's going to prolong it. I just don't think we need to know what they're thinking. And the answer I would be fine with is whoever the spokesman is, because that's what the committee thought.
Right.
They watch the games and they feel that this team is better.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that it should be. I don't have as much of an issue with him here as of late, and I know some still hold bad feelings from the TCU thing or whatever, or maybe feel like Baylor should have got in last year. I don't know. I mean, it's the College Football Playoff Committee. It is what it is. It's transparency, which is better than nothing. Although, again, I'll go back to, it's when you're making up terms and things like that, which has not as much been the case here as of late as it was originally, and it was brand new, so they were flying by the seat of their pants. But yeah, I don't know. They're going to have a more difficult job this year. They can say whatever they want to right now. I mean, everybody's saying a lot of things right now, and it's all up for change. So we'll see what the committee's saying once the season actually gets started, but I don't know how much bearing it really has at this moment until we have a more firm idea of what exactly this is going to look like.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I think it's going to be wild. It's going to be weird. And look, the Big 12, they already have 9, the good news is they don't have to do what the SEC does and try to make it equitable to everybody by pulling in 2 conference games out of the blue. That's probably harder for the SEC to do, although they won't care, but there's going to be somebody who's pissed about their schedule.
Well, yeah.
The way it worked out. But the Big 12, they don't really have to worry about that. They don't have to do a thing where, okay, well, because they're not going to play somebody twice. That's just not going to happen. They'll find a way to pull in some other game, I would think, whether that's BYU or this deal with the Mountain West or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the only options they have is go get BYU or go get some other we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, they got to make a decision first on what their schedule is going to look like. I hesitate to, we speculate a little bit on BYU just because they're available and the Big 12 needs teams. So if they're available, then, hey, go grab them. But, I mean, until they make a decision on what they're actually going to do, there's, you know what I'm saying? There's just that, there's we're speculating so much already that it's just we could, it's kind of hard to speculate on anything the Big 12 is going to do exactly schedule-wise until we know what the schedule is going to look like. And I think we've kind of laid out there that if it is going to be 12, then, yeah, call up BYU and book up a league-wide thing, invite them in like ACC did Notre Dame, and let's party. But
as it stands right now, Baylor's only lost 1 game.
The entire Big 12, for the most part, only lost 1 game.
Yeah. So, that's only one you have to make up. So, they've lost Ole Miss. All right. And the way that was kind of looking I was thinking that even if they played it, that probably would have been home and home.
Who's that?
That would have been a home stadium thing.
Who?
Oh, Baylor and Ole Miss. I don't think they would have done it in Houston. I think ultimately they would have just done it at a home stadium.
Yeah, I mean, if ultimately they're going to play that game,
Yeah, if they're like, so that was already off the table. So, I think, and I guess we'll see what happens, but I think that when they get the schedule, when they know what they're going to do, that's going to be fine. I wonder if the Big 12 is stuck on doing 12 just so they can have those data points to get, like they said in their head, like, let's make up for the time we didn't have the 13th data point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their plan is right now. Again, that's what we're waiting to find out. And until we do, I mean, anybody's guess is as good as anybody else's. So why they're so adamant about the 12, I don't know if it's a money thing or if it's just hey, we're going to be the team or we're going to be the league that plays all these games. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the motivation is other than money. Which is not the right reason to be doing everything, but I also know that's, very much in the middle of all the decisions being made around the country right now. If it wasn't for money, then we would all look massively different from whatever we're doing right now. So it's certainly money driven. I can't imagine the Big 12's in a place where like they have to go have everybody play 12 games. So I don't know what all, like, again, I don't know. I don't know what all's going into it. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what to expect even, but hopefully we get that clarity here in the next couple of days or, sometime next week, probably more likely. Although now with the conferences making their decision today, maybe that does force the Big 12 into not hurrying a decision, but at least, I mean, apparently they're supposed to have one ready. I mean, it was as clear as daylight yesterday that they were going to have a decision pretty soon from the other conferences. So if the Big 12's actually been caught, sitting on their hands, then that just screams of how inept they really truly still are versus maybe the improvements and strides they've made publicly over the last couple of years where I think they have actually been very well run. But if there's any way they were caught off guard by today's news and aren't prepared to go forward with a decision, then that's just disgraceful with all the time that they've had.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think part of that I just think is they wanted to have a plan in place and they wanted to have a couple days to react based on what the SEC did because it affected them a lot based on the non-conference schedule. Craig, and other news completely separate to this and in positive news, the NBA's back tonight.
Yeah.
Utah is about to start. Utah and New Orleans are about to start. I'm sure they're doing introductions or whatever already, and that game, is just about to get underway. And then the only other game tonight is the Lakers and Clippers, which is a nice one to bring it back with.
Yeah, I'm not a big NBA guy. It's probably my of the big three. And sorry, hockey, but of the big three, it's number 3 for me. But I do love basketball. I do love the Mavericks, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this is going to look like. Last time the NBA was in action, they canceled sports for everybody. So this is our first glimpse of the NBA since the whole world changed, because that was when the whole world changed.
And Rudy Gobert's team gets to go first.
Yeah, and rightfully Rudy Gobert's Jazz team, who started this whole ball rolling in the sports world. And if it wasn't going to be them, it was going to be somebody else. But still, it was them, and it was Rudy Gobert in particular. Yeah, I mean, they are a fitting team to be back on night number 1. They're playing Zion and the Pelicans. Is Zion even available? I don't even know if he is he? I'm not even sure at this point, but I think he is.
I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, okay. He is going to play. Okay. I just know that there was in the last week there was – he had a health family thing he had to go home for, and so then you have to quarantine. So that's why I was uncertain, but I do see it now on ESPN's front page that he is playing tonight. So yeah, you got Zion and the Jazz, and then the Battle of LA should be pretty good. LeBron, very fitting choice for night number 1 of primetime coming back, and the Clippers a good foe to have as well. So I will watch a lot. I am not. One of those people that like, this is the sport I've been looking forward to coming back, or I'm like super Mr. NBA by any means, but know people who are. So for them, great. Happy for you. Happy that you're getting your favorite sport back, and just happy for everybody to have some more alternatives to their viewing. And I look forward to watching the Mavs whenever they roll out there.
That's tomorrow night against the Rockets at 8:00. And that's a game I will watch. And I even as a Spurs fan, I'll probably lean towards Mavs in that one. I'm very excited to see the Mavs doing this thing, because everything we've seen seems like they've embraced this whole thing. Mm-hmm. That their attitude has been like, look, we're here. We might as well have fun with it. Let's not complain. Like, what's complaining going to do?
Nothing.
Complaining is going to make you Lou Williams and want to go get chicken wings at a strip club.
Give you some Twitter likes and gets you some attention, but other than that, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, so go ahead, embrace it, enjoy it. You're a young team. You're building. You could make some waves. They need this experience. They really do. They've got to be in the playoffs. Luka needs this. Kristaps needs this. So, yeah, and any kind of experience that young team can get to build on for the future, because the sky's the limit for Luka. I mean, it is. We know that. But, you can't really build that first block. We watched The Last Dance this summer. Michael Jordan didn't roll out there and just win an NBA title.
No.
He had to learn how to win in the playoffs. He also had to learn how to bounce back from a loss in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's valuable experience. I mean, at the same time, I don't know how much good this season really does overall.
Yeah.
As far as
because it's so weird, yeah.
Yeah, just because it's short, it's weird, everybody's in the same place. There's no traveling back and forth like over a 7-game series. There's no home court advantage. There's none of those things. And so, I'm not sure, like, even if somebody were to go on a playoff run this year, if that's going to be as impactful as if they were to have gone on a playoff run in a normal year.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we'll see. But, I mean, them getting back out there and having more time playing with each other, it certainly is going to make that team better in the long run, or it should make them better in the long run, just having more court time with one another and actually, like you said, playing real meaningful games, even if they're maybe slightly less meaningful than they normally would be, but still somebody's going to hoist the championship. I'm going to be interested to see how we view the coronavirus quarantine 2020, the year that was, sports championships.
Nobody craps on the Spurs, though, for their strike-shortened win.
Yeah, so maybe that'll be the case here, but I don't know. It does seem like it'll count the same. It's just different. It's just different.
Believe me, if you're a fan of a team if the Rangers win the World Series this year,
but it wouldn't be the same, man. Like that's what I mean. Yeah. Like I don't feel like for me, I don't feel like I would the Rangers would be World Series champions, but it wouldn't be the same as they had done it over 162 games.
Oh, no.
It's not the same.
It's not going to feel the same, but believe me, in the moment, you'll enjoy it, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, I would enjoy it if they won something because they haven't won anything in a long time other than the division, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to do that, first of all, but hey, who knows? If they did, I mean, there's no doubt I would be happy about it. There's no doubt I would be pretty over the moon, I guess. But, man, I'm thinking of it right now, and it's just going to have to be one of those things that has to happen for me to react to it because I really don't feel like right now I'm going to be nearly as excited or nearly to the level of excitement that I would be if it was a 162-plus game World Series championship.
All right, one more break. We're back to wrap it up. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction with a team of 24 experienced agents who are excited about serving you. Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home. How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Welcome back into SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. Wrapping it up. Smokey had to step out a little early.
Yeah, computer issue, and you could tell he was about to have an anxiety attack.
Which is why, you know what? I'm glad that prompt technology exists, because then I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, I bet. I typically stay away from that. I mean, at this point, I've told him to get a Mac like so many times, but he just would rather have computer problems every 5 months, I guess.
You know, the best part about having a Mac is when you have computer problems, you just send it to them.
Yeah.
And then you don't have it, and it's stressful, but you get it back and it's done.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all you got to do. Or if you're fortunate enough to live where there's an Apple store, which we do not have, closest is Austin or Dallas, so that's not something you'd want to go drive to just drop off the laptop. But yeah, you can mail it in, and it's simple, and it's not nearly, I think for maybe people who are a little bit older, it's, new technology, a little bit frightening kind of thing, and that's understandable because I'll be that way at some point as well, probably with some new TV thing that comes out or something. But I think there's like a stigma with MacBooks that it's like, oh, it's so complicated, and it's really not at all. But I always hear that from people. They're like, oh, I just don't think I'd understand, and it's like, it's not. What do you think this is? It's not like a Chinese, language only thing.
I think you have about.
There's nothing really to. I mean, there's a few things here and there, man, but it's just like anything else. It's not like it's a laptop.
I would think
it's a laptop.
I would think for him it'd be about like a 10-day little thing.
Yeah, but
before you get used to the rhythms. Most people it's 1 or 2, but
right. But I mean, when you're used to having something else for so long, then certainly Apple's going to be a little bit different. But I mean, when I switched over years and years ago, instead of going, oh my gosh, I was like, oh, this is so cool. I just learned how to do this and how to do that, and oh, this is so great. And I have never once had to take my laptop in to get a virus taken out of it or to get spyware taken off of it. The only time I've ever had to send my MacBook in is because of like a hardware issue, like the screen cracked.
Yeah.
Or, the feet on the, like, I will say one thing that's very annoying about MacBooks is the rubber feet at the bottom always come off at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's really not a big deal because that's the bottom of your laptop, so it's not like anybody's looking at that. But yeah, it's kind of a nice thing to not have to worry about taking anywhere. But hey, if you do have computer issues, Prompt Technology is the go-to for you, most definitely.
Absolutely. And they fixed, this Mac was well out of warranty, and I cracked it. Remember I cracked the screen in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough day. But I took it back to them, and they fixed it in a couple days.
I managed to crack my screen right when I was getting into a little bit of extra money. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, man, I'm going to have a bit extra money this month. And just like clockwork, went to close it one day and didn't realize that I had I'm trying to think of what it was. It might have been like a pencil that was just sitting there at the top of the keyboard, and I go to close it, and I just hear crack, and it was the glass shattering on my screen. So I had to send that in, and that was, I will say, the one thing about a MacBook is if you're the type of person that breaks your computer constantly, like, first of all, what are you doing that you do that often? And I mean, physically break it? That can get really pricey. Like, a broken screen can be really pricey, but I don't know how often people are breaking laptop computer screens, nor should they be unless they're having an unfortunate accident like I did.
Yeah.
But outside of the cost to repair things, which you typically shouldn't have to do, it's a very worthy investment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm very pro Mac. Hey, did you get to watch the Tom Hanks movie on Apple this weekend?
No, I was going to wait and watch that this weekend, actually, yeah. I was planning on actually watching that probably tomorrow night. Well, I got to see what I'm doing for it, but yeah, probably tomorrow night.
So, we didn't mention this yet, but Connolly will open, and we'll do that game with Sunnydale. 4A division. Sunnyvale. I'm sorry. Sunnydale is where Buffy the Vampire Slayer was from. Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale, they'll open with them, and they're playing 4 of their 5 non-district games at home, and the road game is La Vega. So that's really good news for us.
That's fantastic news for us. We won't leave the city of Waco for the first 5 weeks of the season. Hope they get all these games in. Hope everybody across the state gets all their games in. But definitely feeling a lot better about high school football season, whereas, you just roll with the punches, whatever the case may have been. But, we were looking at earlier this week, and especially the end of last week, at most 6 games, I think, for Connolly, and we wouldn't be getting into any of those games until, late September, October, whatever. And now instead we're going to, at least on paper, as of now, have a full 10. So very excited about that. Shane Anderson's been, and I'm not even the one that's really even dealing with him, but I can just tell how great he's been in helping put all this together. And we're fired up to have Connolly football. So yeah, Sunnyvale answers one question, and we'll have a lot of home games. We'll see La Vega twice. And I think a lot of their other opponents, one of the messages he sent, they're all ranked too, with the exception of Palestine. So, that should be a lot of fun, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I am. Well, does that mean we get to go to Palestine? We don't get, at one point? I don't know.
No, right? Because, 4 or 5 of their non-district games are at home, and the road games at La Vega. Everyone but Palestine is ranked in the state top 10.
Yeah.
So that was from Smokey. So, no, Palestine would be at home.
Yeah, so they're all at home. Well, and that's great for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And then even the district schedule, I think we've got 1 or 2 road games, maybe?
Yeah.
1 or 2. I think Jarrell was one of them, and then there was maybe it's China Spring or something, so that's not even a drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this schedule way more than the one we were looking at there for a while. We're going to be going to Odessa and whatever had we stuck with Midway. But no, very fired up about covering Connolly and the schedule they got in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder how playoffs work this year. You probably wind up flipping home and home most of the spots. I
would prefer to do that rather than go do neutral site. I don't know how many neutral. Well, there'll probably be some neutral site stadiums that are going to want that money. But at the same time, I don't know if you don't have to, and if you're not really hurting for money, if you're really going to want to welcome in teams from two opposite sides directionally that are meeting in the middle at your place. I don't know if you really want to do that as much this year unless you just really feel the need to.
Yeah. And it becomes a staffing issue and everything. I guess,
I don't know that you want to mix and mingle.
We'll see that in November. We'll figure that out in November.
Let's figure that out later.
Let's get game 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get some games under our belt first before it really hits the fan. So
yeah, we can figure that out at some other point.
Yeah. That's. But I mean, I think that's gonna be fun. They're gonna have a fun schedule, and high school football is gonna be different this year, and I don't know if they're gonna
not.
Yeah,
everything is.
So everything's gonna be. I don't know how many fans are gonna be in the stands. I know that there's plans out there that have been in the stands. I don't see that happening early in the season. I really don't.
Probably not.
Maybe by the middle of the season. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's going to change between now and November, really.
But that's the thing, Paul. We can talk in circles about it. None of us know. None of us know a bleeping thing. We're all just flying by the seat of our pants and reacting accordingly. And so, some of these things are fun to talk about, and some of these things it's not time to talk about them yet because, like you said, with the playoffs, I mean, we got to get week 1 in first, and we're still a bit of a ways away from that now. I mean, not nearly as long as we were before, but, I mean, it's still a little bit of time away, and so I have no idea what this place, and by this place I mean Mother Earth, is going to look like in a month from now. We have no idea.
Yeah. All right, so to wrap it up, thanks to Bruce Feldman from The Athletic, Max Olson from The Athletic, Dr. Jamie Harrison from the UIL for stopping by, and I'm leaving somebody out early on in the show. Why am I blanking? Oh, Albert Breer from the NFL. Well, actually, now he's Monday Morning Quarterback. And Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, all joined us today. And we talked a lot of football today, pretty much exclusively until we talked about the NBA and a little bit of baseball stuff. But all this is up online on SicEm365.